All right, guys, welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you are new here. Thank you guys for being here today. I hope everybody's day is going well. I hope everybody's feeling good today. We are going to have, in my opinion, a very interesting conversation about PlayStation. Xbox will obviously be involved in this conversation relatively heavily because of the showcase that they did yesterday. And yeah, there are things out here that people are saying, people are reacting. They're looking pretty goofy, obviously. Um, and so, yesterday we talked all about Xbox. I had I think it was over a 4 hour stream. It was a long stream. Um, and I've had some time to, process everything and think about it a little bit more, kind of look things over again, second time. And so what I wanted to do in this stream, as you can see, title it PlayStation is in prime position now. And there are going to be people that when they hear that, all they're hearing is, oh, you're just damage controlling. Or you're just afraid or whatever. This is the same type of conversation we had leading into the Xbox showcase where this is what people were saying. But I'm going to talk about a couple of things. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of opinionated discussion over the course of this stream. But I'm going to point out some facts as well. Saying, yeah, 100% damage controlling, but we expect it from you. Okay, well, let's see. You tell me by the end of the stream if you think it's damage control. Although something tells me, ice cold cabbage, that you will think no matter what I say. In fact, I could probably just sit here and say Xbox is the best, and you'll say that's damage control. Yeah. So, Perfect Image, you're saying I believe that Sony has something up their sleeve. We don't have to believe that, Perfect Image, and that's the fun aspect to today's conversation. Is there are going to be people today that they're going to hear what I have to say and they're going to say that's not true. That's not true, or this is all just wishful thinking. But that's the thing, Perfect Image, is there's no need to believe anything, and this is, to me, this is the most humorous aspect to coming off of that Xbox showcase yesterday. Is people are talking as if somehow, some way, PlayStation is the one that has been in this kind of like garbage position where they had to prove something and they failed to prove that, and that Xbox this whole time has not been in that position, and they've just been great. Now, granted, not everybody has that opinion, of course. We talked all about that yesterday. But today I think is a good day to kind of just set the record straight, put a couple facts on the table, give a couple of my opinions. But before I do that, I do want to let you guys know, if you appreciate my content here, if you appreciate the streams, if you appreciate what I do, please consider supporting it directly. I am fan funded, so I do rely on you guys for that. Consider becoming a channel member. Consider gifting channel memberships, and or consider donating a super chat. I really appreciate all the support you guys have continued to show. Luis, you're saying admit the defeat. See, that's the funny thing here, man, is, okay, so if we were to, all right, it depends on how you want to look at this, okay? There are two ways we could look at this. We could zoom in and just look at the showcases, and I've done that, okay? I did that yesterday. I even did that days leading up to yesterday. We've just looked at the showcases, and we've zoomed in and we've compared the showcases. Who had the better showcase? Universally, everybody seems to be in agreement that pretty much objectively, Microsoft had the better showcase, because these showcases are meant to put forth mainly first-party content. and exclusives, things of that nature. So most people, I'd say like probably 90% of people or more, are in agreement that Xbox had the better showcase. And then what people like to do is they like to talk as if that's all that matters. And that's where the problem comes in. See, this is why this isn't about defending PlayStation. This isn't about damage controlling anything, because the idea that PlayStation would need to damage control insinuates and implies that what Microsoft just did damages PlayStation and damages Sony. We'll see about that. I mean, I don't know the future, but I have a pretty strong feeling that PlayStation's going to do just fine. That's just me. Fred Vance, thank you so much, man. We got Fred Vance coming in, getting things started today with a 5 memberships gifted. It's been a while, Fred. I appreciate it, dude. I appreciate you showing up, showing some generosity here. Let's get some W's in the chat for Fred. Love to see it, dude. Thank you so much for that. Let me bump this up to 5 here. Fred's like, I hear you, MBG. I hear you, MBG. So look, here's the fact of the matter. There is, I did title this stream differently originally, but the reason why I changed it is because I think it was too long of a title, and people, you know, the second half of the title was getting cut off, but you had to read the second half to get. There is a major key factor here that is complete, like it has seemingly effed off in the minds of most people. And I get it. Like, you're just coming off of a showcase and there's a lot of conversations. Xbox now has some wind in its sails, but my problem is not with anybody basically celebrating the Xbox showcase, because it was good. I've said it over and over again. It was a good showcase. My problem is that people, you see, the issue is that I could come out here and say, Xbox had a good showcase. Good job, man. They finally did it. And the amount of people that flood my channel or my Twitter, that's not good enough for them. No, MBG. They didn't just do good. They fucking murdered Sony. Good luck. It's over. Boom. And that's the type of shit that I'm just like, what the fuck are you smoking, bro? Like, do you hear yourselves? Do you actually hear yourselves? But here's the reality. Here's the reality. PlayStation truly, now more than ever, is in prime position. And do you know why? It is exactly because of that fact. It is because of the fact that Xbox had a good show. Why? Let me ask you. Why did Xbox have a good show? I'm going to answer that. I mean, I'm sure many of you are going to answer it correctly in the chat. Xbox had a good show because they showed first-party games. Not just one, not just two. No, not at all. They showed a lot. You could almost say that Microsoft finally revealed their hand. They finally showed their cards. They put their cards on the table, and they didn't hold back. Oh, unless I'm wrong. Am I wrong? No, I don't think I'm wrong. In fact, if you go look around at what Xbox fans are saying, this is exactly what they're saying. And I'm in agreement. They're all saying Xbox fucking killed it. Because they showed the games, man. They finally kicked down the doors and said, we're not fucking around anymore. They did what people have been waiting for. And you see, the great thing about this is that the more I thought about it, the more I thought about, damn, such a weird scenario, such an unexpected scenario. PlayStation has their showcase, and it underwhelms. That showcase was, to a lot of people, just was like, what? What was that showcase? Sony? What are you doing? And then almost immediately after, Xbox has their best showcase. Some would say ever. Some would say ever. And you just think to yourself, man, Who would have seen that? The tables have turned, right? Clearly, the tables have turned. MBG, what are you cooking? That's a funny way to put it. The tables have turned, man. Xbox ain't fucking around anymore. And it's like, yeah. But then the realization hits me. And I don't blame anybody for not thinking about this right now. If anything, it makes sense that I would be thinking about this right now. So I understand that a lot of people, this is probably not something that's at the forefront of their mind. Why would it be? And that is the fact that Sony didn't reveal their hand yet. Sony didn't show their cards. Their cards are close to their chest. We haven't seen anything. And that realization, now don't misconstrue what I'm saying. I'm not saying to you, and they're going to reveal their hand very soon. I have no idea. That'd be great. Sony could do another showcase next month if they wanted to. I think they're going to do another showcase this year. I have no idea. But what I do know, this is a fact right now, okay? And this is a fact that people are going to deny. They're going to try to say it's not true. But before you jump to that conclusion, really think about it. Don't just listen to me and get triggered by me when I'm saying this, because you're just like, damn, MBG, the fanboy, he's, clearly he's damage controlling. No, don't act. Just think about it. I mean, really think about it. Did PlayStation reveal their hand? Did they show their cards? Do we know PlayStation's roadmap? Do we have a good idea of what to expect? Somebody might say yes. Some people might say yes, we do. But I'm going to tell you why we actually don't. And this is why, even though it seems kind of out of left field, right? Like, PlayStation's in prime position now. I don't get it. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why they are. But first, Fabrice Paul, you're saying Xbox don't fight Sony anymore for the ABK deal. They're fighting the CMA. Case of them having monopoly over cloud in the UK and not the console. You know what? I want to take this opportunity, Fabrice. I am going to talk shit on Microsoft right now because they fucking deserve it in this area. And I didn't mention this yesterday. It felt like it wasn't necessary to really mention in my stream yesterday, but I'm going to mention it now. Don't you just love the fact that for literally a year straight, Xbox, Microsoft, the big wigs at Microsoft, they come out and they get on their hands and knees and they beg the regulators to let them make this $68 billion purchase of Activision Blizzard. And why? Why? Because they need them. They don't want them. No. Microsoft doesn't want ABK. They need ABK to compete, to survive, to exist, to go against the titan that is slaughtering them. That is Sony. They say this month after month after month. They fucking create pie charts that make it look like Sony is just completely gobbling up Xbox. And they say, we fucking suck. You know? That's what they do. And don't get me wrong, Sony was pretty pathetic too. Sony was trying to play that game with them. Sony was also out here trying to make themselves look weak. And everybody's laughing because they're like, Sony, you're literally number one, man. We know you're not weak. Who you fooling? But it seems Microsoft did succeed in fooling many. Because for months and months and months, I've seen people tell me, I've seen other people claim that, yeah, Microsoft ain't lying, bro. Microsoft ain't lying. They can't compete. Sony has a monopoly, not Microsoft. Microsoft needs ABK. Look at how desperate they are. And isn't it just so funny how for literally a year straight, people have said to me over and over again, why do you care so much about the ABK deal? Why are you so fixated on it? Like, what's the big deal, man? And I've said time and time again, because I don't fucking trust Microsoft. They are fucking snakes. They are snakes. They are out here to dominate. They are not out here to befriend anybody. They are not out here to play nice. They're out here to fucking crush the competition. I've said that time and time again. I do not trust them, and anybody who does is a fool. Straight up. They're corporate. They're a multi-trillion-dollar company. You don't become a multi-trillion-dollar company by playing nice. You become a multi-trillion-dollar company by being a snake and being cutthroat. That's how it works with Sony, with Microsoft, with anybody. But people have continually tried to convince me, mainly the Xbox fanboys, that just want to constantly defend Microsoft's, Microsoft coming out here and just buying publishers like it's nothing by arguing that nonsense. And I just want to point out that isn't it just wonderful how Microsoft, in one fell swoop, completely deconstructed and eliminated their own argument. In other words, they proved to everybody in real time, turns out we fucking lied. Turns out that all that stuff we were saying about not being able to compete, yeah, that wasn't true. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Oops. Multi-trillion-dollar Microsoft. Who would have thought? How did they do that, you ask? Oh, well, last I checked, this was the best showcase Xbox ever put on. Dude, last I checked, Starfield is fucking better than literally anything Sony has put out. I literally read a comment in my video, in my stream yesterday, where somebody said Starfield makes Spider-Man look like a joke. Normally, I wouldn't take a comment like that very seriously until I noticed the fact that, wow, a bunch of people are upvoting this. A lot of people are in agreement. I'm not in agreement, but this is what the people are saying. So my question is, if Starfield's that fucking great, and this is not a slight at Starfield, because I do think Starfield looks great. It's not my cup of tea, but if Starfield is everything people are saying it is, if Starfield is the kind of game that we can get the announcement that, hey, this game is locked at 30 frames per second on your Xbox console, I thought for sure there was going to be at least a little bit of outrage. Just a little bit. Just a tad. Just like a little bit of like, what? Another 30 FPS game? Nothing. Silence. Actually, there wasn't even silence. People were talking about this is perfectly fine. Absolutely. Starfield, of course it's going to be 30 FPS. What are you, an idiot? And I'm just like, no fucking way. Okay, cool. That's cool. So you know what? So that means when Spider-Man 2 is announced to be 30 FPS, we're going to keep that same energy. No, MBG, we're not. We're not going to keep that same energy. That's Spider-Man. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding? Look at what Insomniac made. You're going to try to compare that to Starfield? What? Spider-Man should absolutely be a locked 60 FPS. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? You gotta love it, man. But getting back to my original point, and Fred, dude, thank you so much, man. I see you, man. I see you out here making moves with the membership gifts. I appreciate it. I'm just trying to make sure I stay focused on my rant here. A lot of things, look, I get it, man. Like, I understand. I tried my best to be as fair as I possibly fucking could yesterday. And I think I did a pretty damn good job. And I get that what I'm saying here today may deconstruct what I said yesterday in the eyes of a lot of people. And a lot of people are just like, well, MBG's back to his old ways. But no, you know what? This is shit that needs to be called out. And it needs to be pointed out. Because no one else is doing it. Or at least the people that are doing it, they're just getting shoved to the side. And maybe that's what'll happen to me too. But I fucking notice it, man. Like, is anybody gonna fucking acknowledge that at the end of the showcase yesterday, Phil Spencer had a behind closed doors meeting with the press, and he literally was flexing and bragging about the numbers they are doing. They're double the revenue of the 360 days. We're confident we're going to close the ABK deal. They're bragging about their user base. They're bragging about their engagement. They're bragging about how many games they have in development. They're bragging about their pipeline. They're fucking literally doing the exact opposite of everything they were doing to the regulators, and no one gives a flying fuck. But meanwhile, when Microsoft comes out and they fucking bitch and moan and get on their hands and knees and play the fucking victim, everybody's out here being like, oh my God, Sony's, what has Sony done to them? We need to let them get ABK. They need that. They need that. Like, get the fuck out of here with that shit, man. Like, you gotta be, I literally couldn't believe this shit. I was like, there's no way. Like, I understand you want to do a behind closed doors meeting bragging about how good you're doing, but then you actually let these reporters just go out and put it out there, and look at how blind everybody is. They're fucking sheep, dude. They don't give a shit. They're blinded by the greatness that is Starfield, not realizing that, dude, that is exactly why they shouldn't get ABK. Like, do you know what Microsoft is about to fucking do if they have Bethesda and ABK? Are you kidding me? So you're probably thinking to yourself, but MBG, I don't get it, man. You're going on this massive rant here. What does this have to do with PlayStation being in prime position now? Well, it's because, look, man, people have been speculating for months now. Is Sony holding back here? Like, what is Sony doing? Like, how much do they really care about Microsoft trying to buy Activision? Like, clearly we've seen in the past that they care. But the question is, like, why was the PlayStation Showcase lacking? Where are their games? Where are their studios? What is this CGI nonsense? And a lot of people had to cope, and they cope by saying, well, they're fucking holding back. It's obvious, they're holding back. And you see, the way I just witnessed the Xbox Showcase unfold in the past 24 hours, the reaction of the media, the reaction of gamers online, even Microsoft's own reaction by coming out here and flexing on us, bro. Flexing their numbers. Like, holy shit, man. Yeah, you guys are not playing around. I respect it. I guess that's what happens when you acquire Bethesda, right? I guess that's what happens when you finally, all these investments you made in all these studios, they start to pay off. Yes, absolutely. But meanwhile, I'm just sitting here thinking, like, dude, Sony had to have fucking known this is exactly what was going to happen. They had to have known that. Because I'm just a regular dude out here. I don't work at Sony. I'm not an executive. I'm not privy to all the data and all the numbers. And even I, after that showcase Sony did, was thinking to myself, that was fucking weird. And they, like, I mean, look, when I say this statement, there are going to be people who say no, and they're literally objectively wrong. I want that to be known. There are going to be people who say, no, I'm wrong. They literally don't know what they're talking about. Sony held back at that showcase. Now, for the people who are inevitably going to say, no, they didn't, I implore you, go look at the list of PlayStation studios and tell me how many of those studios were at that showcase. Oh, and while you're at it, why don't you let me know the last time they released a game? Dan, you're saying you're going to get yourself in trouble, LOL. Dude, what are you talking about? I'm going to get my... Dude, I'm guilty no matter what I do. You do realize that, right? Dude, when I try to do the right thing and be fair, no one gives a fuck. No, they don't. It's not going to stop me from being fair. It's not going to stop me from doing the right thing. Hence, why I gave Microsoft their flowers yesterday. But we did that. We talked about it. Now we need to acknowledge everything else surrounding it. Because I know people like to exist in this kind of like tunnel vision type scenario where it's like, well, Xbox had a good showcase. Starfield looks great. That's it. Show's over, folks. Microsoft won. If that's how this shit works, then Sony has been winning and just straight up winning every year. To the point where Xbox just didn't exist. You know? But no one is talking about that. No one is talking about the fact that it turns out Microsoft lied. It turns out Microsoft can absolutely compete. Microsoft knows exactly, they knew exactly what they had with Starfield. They knew exactly what they had. And they knew this is it, baby. Like this is it. This is the ticket right here. And it absolutely is. If there's one thing that, I mean, everything I said yesterday was true, but something that's worth highlighting once again is I said, oh yeah, Starfield's going to do some fucking heavy lifting for Microsoft in a way that we have not seen in over a decade. Starfield is going to not only carry Microsoft, but fucking run with them on their back. That's what Starfield's about to do. That's just the reality. Microsoft knew this. It's the reason why the first order of business when Microsoft acquired Bethesda, yeah, please cancel that PS5 version. Thanks. They're not stupid. Sony's not stupid. Some other people out here I have to question, though. Right? There are actually people out here trying to... and this is the irony, right? This is the irony, because Xbox fanboys get triggered when I say Microsoft just fucking destroyed their own argument. And they proved that they lied right in front of all of you. They lied to their fan base. It's right there in front of you. And Xbox fanboys get triggered by that. And so what they then begin to do, because they realize it's the only thing they can do in an attempt to prove me wrong, which they can't because I'm not wrong, is they will now downplay the Xbox showcase. Well, it wasn't that good. Their games aren't that... I mean, come on. Come on. They still can't compete with Sony. Well, which is it? I'm confused. Sony just had a garbage showcase. Worst they ever had. Microsoft just had the best one that they've ever put out. But they still can't compete? Well, I'm getting mixed messaging here. And you know what? For those who were not downplaying the show, you shouldn't be, because it was a good show. It was a good show. But the reality of the situation is Microsoft is trying to pull the wool, and they have been trying to pull the wool over people's eyes for a while now. And they're clearly doing it effectively. I've had people write up books, okay, in my comment section explaining to me how once Microsoft gets ABK, everything changes. And I can't argue. I cannot argue, because it's like, yeah, how is Sony going to compete with that? People are out here right now saying Sony can't even compete with Starfield, dude. If that's true, how are they going to... Then how do they have a chance in hell? Where do they have a prayer to even compete once Microsoft has ABK? It is what it is, man. You know, people, like I said, they want to exist in a vacuum. The only thing that we can talk about right now is how great of a show Xbox had. We can't talk about anything else. We can't talk about the fact that Sony didn't reveal their hand. Because if you do, you're just damage controlling. But I have a list of studios right here. I have like 10 different studios that didn't show up at Sony's show. No. That doesn't matter, MBG. Don't you understand? PlayStation sucks now. Just accept it. Like, oh, okay. I didn't get the memo. Did you see Fable? Yeah, I saw it. Yeah. Now shut the fuck up. Oh, okay. My bad. But what about everything that Microsoft was saying to the right? No. Xbox good. Xbox great. Xbox win. Sony bad. Sony suck balls. That's it. You know what I mean? Like that's the internet right now. What I mean, aren't you a little bit upset that you're getting another game at 30 FPS on the Xbox? No, MBG. We are not fucking upset. We are happy about that. Starfield eats everything. Okay? Do you see how big that game is? It's like, okay, all right, jeez. I get it. Fine. Fuck. This console's 3 years old, goddammit. And you're expecting 60 FPS on a game like Starfield? I'm sorry. I'm just completely going off the fucking rails. But I do think I'm making some valid points. Look, none of this surprises me, not even a little bit. Saying MBG in full meltdown when he won the competition. Bro, we just got competition. Notice how I'm not melting down, right, over the showcase. If I was going to have a meltdown over the showcase, that would have happened yesterday, when we watched the showcase and talked about the showcase. The thing that's really not sitting well with me is how Microsoft is getting they're getting their cake and they're allowed to have their cake and eat it too. And their fans just are like, hell yeah, bro. Meanwhile, I'm over here like, there's no fucking way that people are this stupid. Like, there's just no way. But then again, I do eventually come to the realization, like, no, they are that stupid. And I'm not even, I know that's an aggressive term to use, but it's like, people need to wake the fuck up and realize that the only motherfuckers cheering on Microsoft at this point in time are people who want to see just a multi-trillion-dollar company come out here and just fucking dominate the entire landscape. And I love how people they're just dumb enough to actually believe a trillion-dollar corporation's president when they come out here and they play the victim and they say, we just want to compete. Let us have competition. We just want to be out here. Look at the fucking, the nonsense. The nonsense. Even at their showcase, dude, where they're just out there with this fucking dramatic music in the background, like, we're about getting everybody to play. We just want everybody. Like, go fuck yourself. You're the same motherfuckers that came out here and literally bought Bethesda to then cancel PS5 versions of games. Get that shit out of here. You're fucking You're literally lying directly to my face, to everybody's face. And people are like, fucking goddamn, dude. Look at that. It's like, give me a break. People are actually falling for this shit? The answer is yes, they fucking are. And like I said, I may be putting on a little bit of entertainment right now, but as I said, man, it's not surprising in the least. It's not surprising in the least. We all know, well, not all of us, but most of us know, we know what Microsoft is. We see this multi-trillion-dollar company for what they are, just like we see Sony for what they are. Make no mistake, there will be people who listen to this who are like, look at that. He just wants to defend Sony. He just wants to talk about how much better Sony is. Like, no. Sony is as cutthroat as they get. Sony would absolutely love to just erase Microsoft from the gaming industry. I'm not ignorant to that fact. And we could play that game. Well, what if Sony had that money? Okay. What about it? What if Sony did have that money? Does Sony have that money? No, they don't. Who has that money? Microsoft does. What kind of argument is that? Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't hold up. It doesn't make any sense. And look, here's what I want Xbox fans to do. Okay, I appreciate, like, I'm happy for them. I'm happy to see that they finally got what they've been waiting for. Rightfully so. They finally got what they've been waiting for. And I'm happy for them because it's like, dude, I know what that's like. I've been there. I was there for a long time. Like, Microsoft, when you going to finally deliver? And they did it. And I see people more excited for Xbox than they ever have been. And that's perfectly fine. You should be. They're bringing you games, finally. Hopefully what look to be very good games. But going forward, I do not want to hear anything about how Microsoft can't compete, how Microsoft needs to justifiably keep buying publishers. I want these people to finally admit it and call it for what it is. It's a fucking trillion-dollar company that wants to eat up the gaming industry. And they want to be number one. They want to dominate. They want to be at the top where no one can touch them. And they're going to do so in the only way that they can. That's what I just admit it. Just admit it. How can you deny it? Look, here are your options. You can either tell me that that's true and you're in agreement, that, you know what, you're right. Microsoft wants to fucking win, dude. And they're going to do whatever it takes. And they're going to buy publishers. They're going to buy their way to victory. That's what they're going to do. And I'll say, okay, there we go. They had a great showcase. They are now competing, and they're attempting to buy their way to victory. Just let me have this victory, MBG. No, look, at the end of the day, the Xbox gamer did get a victory, no matter what. You got a good showcase, and you're getting some games. And you're getting a big one with Starfield. You got a victory. No matter what. I just want people to come out and just finally admit it. Just admit it. Because we all know it's true. We got Hellbound 1981 coming out here, gifting 5 memberships. Dude, thank you so much. And that one's for you, Fred. Fred coming out here with 30 memberships gifted today, bro. Thank you so much, dude. Hell yeah. Membership train going. Love to see it, man. Love to see it. Bringing us up to, what, 30? 35 on the day? I already got to update my goal. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate the support. But Microsoft said we built Starfield. I know, right? Microsoft is obviously largely responsible for the greatness that is going to be Starfield. Now, look, I know people don't want to get into those semantics. I know. And I'm going to read these super chats, but I know people don't want to get into semantics. Well, like, what about Sony when they bought Insomniac and Spider-Man? It's like, dude, look, man, the truth is Sony didn't fucking make Spider-Man. They didn't. Straight up. Insomniac did. Sony funded it and probably gave them a little bit of development support. And then Sony bought Insomniac. And then now we can say with Spider-Man 2, Sony made Spider-Man 2. Right? So we have no choice. We have no choice but to say, yeah, I guess Microsoft made Starfield. They made Starfield. So they can say, we built Starfield. But this is exactly what I'm trying to get people to just wake up and realize, man. Like, if you say, yeah, Microsoft is the one that made Starfield, okay, fine. Yeah, their logo's on it. They own them. But, I mean, you know, but we all kind of know, right? Like, we can all agree, like, but no, like Todd Howard and Bethesda made Starfield, right? Like we can acknowledge that, right? Because here's a question I have for you. And I know I'm starting to get petty here, but I'm looking for an actual answer. All right. I'm looking for and look, I'm mainly talking to any Xbox people here. And I apologize. I know there's snark in my voice. I'm really not trying to be snarky, but I'm being serious. What other game? Were there any other games that were shown at the Xbox event, exclusive games that looked like they were even remotely on the same level as Starfield? And while I wait for you guys to answer that, I'm going to update this real quick. Hellblade? You think so? Wait, hold on, Wrestling Mark. Hold on. You're telling me Avowed and Hellblade look like they're on the same level, somewhat, as Starfield. Well, then how come people are telling me Spider-Man 2 looks like a joke next to Starfield? So now you're going to tell me Hellblade 2 and Avowed? Even they look better than Spider-Man 2? Well, hold on. Now I'm really getting confused. Ubisoft stream MBG. I'm not going to stream Ubisoft right now. I'll catch up with it afterwards. Dude, I'm showcased out, bro. Okay? Like I watched Summer Game Fest, I watched the Xbox. Dude, these shows were long as hell. I am showcased out. I will catch up with Ubisoft afterward. Oh. Now keep in mind, If you were to ask me, do I think Hellblade looks good? Absolutely, I think Hellblade looks good. I think it looks great. I can't believe we didn't actually see gameplay, but I still have a lot of confidence in that game, and I think it's going to be great. I think Avowed, like, I get it. There's a lot of people shitting on Avowed. A lot of people seemingly upset that Avowed completely overhauled its graphics or its visual look. Look, I don't care. I wasn't expecting much from Avowed, but it looks solid, man. It looks like a solid game. Like, I could see the appeal in it. Didn't look bad at all. Fable graphically, Fable graphically looks stellar. Gameplay, I couldn't tell you. Clockwork Revolution, yeah, it looks good too. Again, good games shown. But do any of these games, do they compare to a game like Starfield? That's the question I have. If you were to ask me, the answer is simply no. Based off of what we've seen, the answer is no. And if they do, if you disagree with that and you believe they do, well, again, you're just feeding into my point here that Microsoft's good to go, dude. Because I know Spider-Man 2 and Starfield, these are two very different games, but I feel like in terms of just AAA, like, care given to these games, Spider-Man is not going to be as big in scope and ambition as Starfield, but it's going to get that attention, love, and care, and that attention to detail similar to a game like Starfield. Starfield is getting that type of love, attention, and care, right? And it has that attention to detail. In that way, they are comparable. But would I say a game like Hellblade? Maybe. We need to see more of it, but I'm not necessarily, I don't know that I'm that confident. But let me get to the main point, and I'm going to read these super chats. Before I do, I just want to get to the main point that I was trying to make, because I went on some side tangents here, and fuck, man, go ahead. Get upset at what I say, clown on me for what I say, but I don't see how somebody could say I'm wrong. You know, I understand that somebody could maybe say, look at how worked up you're getting, LOL, but it's like, but am I wrong? I mean, really though, tell me, am I wrong for saying that Xbox had a great showcase? They showed some great games that people are excited for. They can compete with Sony now. Therefore, they do not need Activision Blizzard. Am I wrong? I don't think I am. All right, let me see. Fabrice, already read yours. Brett Williams, you're saying, if you think PlayStation is bad without competition, just imagine Xbox without competition. These bots don't know what they're rooting for. How quickly everyone forgets that Xbox, you know, the brand that clearly only wants to save you money and give you a great deal. How everyone forgets. And I'm not trying to be like snide about this, but it's just people, again, they sweep this shit under the rug and just pretend. Like, at least I can admit, yeah, Sony's fucking greedy. Sony wants more money from me. They don't hide that fact. And I acknowledge that depending on what they're offering me, I have no problem paying and giving them my money if it feels like a fair deal. It's just like the argument that people want to try to make about $70 games. Like, I'm so fucking tired of hearing it, man. If you don't want to pay $70 for fucking games, then don't fucking pay for it. But stop bitching at the rest of us, will you? You know, get off our fucking sacks. Seriously, like, just let people fucking do what they want to do. Just like people who bitch at me, they're like, MBG, stop telling me to stop supporting Game Pass. You know what? You're right. Go fucking support what you want, man. Go support what you want. It's not my money. But I agree, Brett. Anyway, I was trying to say, Brett, the thing that people forget so quickly is, let's just pretend Microsoft isn't the same company. Let's pretend Microsoft isn't the same company that, I don't know if it was last year. I think it was last year, or maybe it was 2021, but it was recently. They just came out and they're like, yeah, we're doubling the price of Xbox Live. And everybody was like, the fuck did you just say? And they're like, we're not. No. We're not doubling the price of Xbox Live. You know what I mean? Like that literally happened not that long ago. And people were like, look at them. They listened to us. Like, yeah, because they realized they couldn't get away with it. Oh, man. You gotta love it. Abraham, you're saying you are right in every aspect of the conversation, MBG. Xbox wants to control the gaming industry. I know, like, that's the funny thing, is like, when did Microsoft ever enter an industry and not try to control it? Sometimes they actually succeeded, and they got in trouble for it. Saying you smell fear. Dude, listen, man, the fear that you're smelling, I don't know. I don't know where it's coming. Like, this isn't about being fearful of Sony losing its position. Listen, I want this to be understood. And I want to make this point so clear. I want to make this point crystal clear. I would see nothing wrong with Microsoft becoming number one. If after this Xbox showcase in the next year, Sony fucks up, Spider-Man 2 is a disaster at launch, and suddenly PS5 sales slow down dramatically, and then suddenly Starfield comes out and is sitting at a fucking 97 on Metacritic, and Forza is sitting at a 91, and everybody's going out there and they're buying Xboxes, and the heat's just fucking turning up, man, and suddenly just like that, holy shit. In the next year, Microsoft, they made the biggest comeback in gaming history. That would be incredible. I would be like, holy fuck, dude. Look at that shit. And I would look at Sony and I'd say, yo, you guys better fucking get it together, because you just lost your seat. But you know what I don't fucking respect? And you know what I think is totally fucked up? Is if a scenario occurs, okay, all right, maybe the most radical thing I just said there is, wait, so you're telling me Spider-Man 2 is going to launch in a disaster state and people are going to stop buying PS5s? What are you talking about? That's not going to happen. You're right. That's not going to happen. Spider-Man 2 is going to launch probably just fine, and PS5s are going to continue to sell at a rapid rate. That's realistically what's probably going to continue to happen going into 2024. But on a more realistic level, what we will probably see is at the end of this year, Starfield's going to drop, Forza's going to drop, but specifically Starfield, that game is going to just make Xboxes fly off the shelves. And that's going to carry Xbox well into 2024. And then in 2024, Xbox is going to drop Hellblade 2. They're going to drop, did they say Avowed? I don't know. What was the other game that's slated for 2024? Is it Avowed? I think it's Avowed. I'm pretty sure it's Avowed. I'm going to go with Avowed. Yeah. So it was Avowed. Okay. So yeah, they drop Hellblade 2 and Avowed. And let's just say both of those games review incredibly well. Like really, really well. Like let's just say Hellblade 2 is like 93 on Metacritic, just for shits and giggles. And Avowed's like a 88 or something. Right? Now, obviously, Sony will be doing their own thing and still selling PS5, still releasing games like Final Fantasy and whatnot. Concord, I guess, at some point. But what if in the next year we actually start to see Xboxes begin to sell? Like kind of a lot. And they actually start catching up to Sony. What if Microsoft just starts winning more market share? What if what I'm describing right now is simply Microsoft actually competing with Sony? And it turns out that, yeah, they needed Bethesda to do that. See, I've always said, I think there's an argument to be made there. I've always said, you're saying, isn't that what you want? Yes, it is. And that's just what we got. But what I realized after the showcase yesterday, and this is where I truly felt like I was straight up bamboozled by Microsoft, I totally forgot for a moment there that wait, hold on a second. They're still going after Activision. They're still going to get Activision, aren't they? And I think everybody forgot How could you not? You're being distracted by look at our games. Look at the greatness that awaits you. And I'm listening. I read these interviews with Phil, or this presentation with Phil, and he's talking about how they have the strongest pipeline of games they've ever had. They're gonna have 4 games per quarter. 4 games per quarter, or not per quarter, per year. A game each quarter. 4 games per quarter. Yeah, now that'd be with Activision Blizzard. Who knows? Yeah, per year. 4 games per year, which is double Sony's. Double Sony's. But they can't fucking compete? Are you shitting me? And the reason why I'm so fixated on this is because this isn't a fear of competition. That's what these fucking people need to realize. PlayStation fans are not fearful of competition. PlayStation fans want competition. PlayStation fans want Sony to be on their toes. Look at what PlayStation fans are asking from Sony right now. They're asking Sony, please show us a roadmap. Show us some games from your studios that aren't live service. That's what PlayStation fans are asking for Sony right now. The amount of PlayStation fans that I've seen giving Microsoft their flowers after yesterday, essentially saying, dude, yeah, that was a good show. They showed some good games. I might even go buy an Xbox. There's your competition. We are witnessing competition right now. And what we are about to witness is Microsoft gobble up Activision Blizzard King and still walk around convincing everybody that it was a good thing for them to do. It's good for the industry. It's good for the consumer. It's good for the competition. It's a fucking joke is what it is. That's what it is. And that's the thing that just really kind of slapped me upside the head yesterday as I was like, because I didn't even know, I had no idea Phil Spencer was going to be giving a behind closed doors presentation with Matt Booty, talking about how great they're doing. And doesn't that just show you how confident Microsoft is? You could tell Microsoft knows they won. They know that they've won. They know they have Activision Blizzard in the bag. Because if they didn't feel confident that they do, they wouldn't have done this. They would have held back with their show, and they certainly wouldn't have come out and bragged about how much money they're making and how well they're doing. I'm tired of the nonsense. I called Sony out. I fucking called Sony out. You think they'll give me credit for that? Fuck no, they won't. They say, fuck you, MBG. That's what they say. And I say, fuck you too. But I'll defend myself. And I'll say, I fucking called Sony out when they were out here acting like little bitches, being like, but our Call of Duty. And I said, fuck your Call of Duty. I don't want to hear that shit. You're Sony. You make great games. You've been dominating. You've been kicking ass. Keep it going. Don't stop. Stop acting like a bitch. That's what I said. Numerous times. But are they saying it now to Microsoft, even though they were just fucking lied to? Not at all. They're too busy sharing fucking screenshots of a fucking dude eating a sandwich or some shit from Fable. Whatever. Make your own COD. Yeah. Come on, Sony. You can do it. Make your own Call of Duty competitor. You can do it. We can't, but you can. Oof. Oof. The amount of people that they just eat it up. They just eat it up, man. Wrestling Mark, you're saying, I think it's time to delete Twitter. Dude, believe it or not, most of this shit I've seen on YouTube this time around, not Twitter. All right, I'm sorry, guys. I got to get to these super chats. All right, let me see. Jeff B. Gaming, you're saying, MBG, Xbox showing game updates from games shown in 2019 to 2021. Meanwhile, PlayStation starting phase 2 of games. Xbox not close to overtaking PlayStation. Look, man, I didn't want to rain on anybody's parade yesterday. It felt unnecessary. Because you're pointing out another fact. Yes, you are pointing out a fact that Microsoft is finally showing in-engine, in-game footage, whatever it was, and some gameplay of games that they announced years ago. I could be that person to say, well, that's just sad. But I'm not going to. The reason being is because it's just, now to me, that's uncalled for. Because it's like, I'm not trying to make people feel less excited about their games that they're seeing and that they're excited for, that they're happy to see. You know what I mean? Like, games take a long time, and that's fine. Microsoft delivered what people wanted. There's no reason to shit on that. But it is a fact. This is another thing I've noticed where I'm just like, what is wrong with people? I'm assuming they just want to troll me. I have to assume they're trolling. Where like people are coming out, and because Xbox had a good show and they have some games now lined up to release, nothing Sony has done up until this point matters. Not only does nothing that Sony has done up until this point matters, but everything that has occurred with Microsoft previously, all swept under the rug. See, this is where I'm saying, look, I'm not about like not letting things go, but we have to fucking it's important to remember some of these things, because if you don't, you're gonna, it's gonna happen again. It's gonna come around again at some point, and when it does, you're gonna be blindsided by it. You know? Space D saying total mindshare. Yeah, quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. Luis Gonzalez, you're saying the show was better in terms of first party, but at the same time, I feel that I got cheated with the Series X because games are coming at a locked 30 FPS, so why buy a $500 console? Console for plus no gameplay. So, yeah, I mean, look, again, I'm not here to criticize the Xbox showcase. I have seen more people coming out and being like, they didn't really show that much gameplay. And it's like, well, all right, look, I'm just, like I said, I'm trying to just do the fair thing. And I think the fair thing and the right thing is, look, man, I've seen some pretty fucking bad Xbox showcases. Like, I've seen Xbox at their lowest point. This was a good show from them. Like this, I understand that if people who are absolutely holding them to the absolute highest standard, I understand how you could probably find some chinks in the armor here, but in Xbox's case, this was an S plus showcase, and the fact that, to me, here's the biggest thing about Xbox's showcase that really sold it for me. After I saw that showcase, I genuinely felt that at least with one game, possibly, I think two games, Microsoft now has two extremely, well, one of them is extremely high profile, but generally two high profile games that can actually seriously compete with Sony's games now. Obviously Starfield, but the other one for me is Hellblade 2. Like, if Hellblade 2 is as big as I'm expecting it to be, I think that's going to be a standout title for Microsoft in 2024. That's going to be like Microsoft's big single-player AAA kind of like Sony-esque game. That's probably going to directly compete with Sony's single-player games. And that's the thing that sold me on the showcase from Xbox yesterday is I'm like, damn, like, they're now competing. Like, this is Xbox competing. This is what I've been asking for. This is what I've been saying for literally years. Like, this is what they need to do. And I think that's why so many people were shocked yesterday that I wasn't like punching air over that showcase or upset about it. And even right now, the thing I'm bitching about Microsoft, but I'm not bitching about their showcase. If anything, everything I'm saying today that is against Microsoft just further fuels that they had a good showcase. They put on a good show. They showed good games. And that's why I feel like, if anything, the Xbox fan base is kind of in a bind right now, because it's like your only option is to either say that the showcase wasn't good enough and that Microsoft still can't compete, or to just admit that Microsoft is trying to pull the wool over everyone's eyes and buy the industry. Those are your only two options. Hellbound with the super chat, you're saying Sony shows CGI trailers with some gameplay and Xbox shows CGI trailers with some gameplay. Then how is it that Xbox destroys Sony? Look, man, if we're gonna get in the weeds, I'll get in the weeds here. Like, I don't get why people are so hyped about seeing these games that are like, I guess like if I had to really logically think about it, it's because of the visuals. That's what it is. Because dude, I watched that Fable trailer and I'm like, I don't know what this game is. Like, I have no idea what this game is. Like, I guess it's an action adventure game, I guess. But one thing we can walk away from with that Fable trailer that we couldn't walk away from with Sony's CG trailers, and this is just a fact, with that Fable trailer, you can say, unless the game gets massively downgraded, that's what the game's going to visually look like. That's what the game's going to visually look like. It's a strand-based game. Oh, damn. Dude, that would be amazing. But you can at least do that. And so I guess that's why Microsoft wanted to, cuz like look, when we saw that Hellblade clip, yes, that wasn't CGI. And that's cool because it's like, yeah, that's what the game's going to look like graphically, but it was a fucking cinematic, dude. Like, there's zero gameplay. There was zero gameplay there. This is why people were calling out Aaron Greenberg, where they're like, dude, Aaron Greenberg made it sound like all we really were going to see was gameplay. But to be fair, he did say you would see cinematics as well. I'll be honest, when he said that, I didn't think that meant when we see Hellblade, it's literally going to be like a 5-minute cinematic, and that's it. Like, to me, that's ridiculous. That is equally as ridiculous as a CG trailer. I do think the CG trailer, however, is slightly worse in Sony's case, because at least with Hellblade, and I'll give Microsoft credit for this, and Hellblade, at least with Hellblade, I have a general idea. It's a sequel, so I kind of know, like, it's a third-person game. I'm going to be using a sword and slicing people up, and I get the camera perspective, so you have a good idea. You're saying it wasn't a cinematic, though? Well, what the hell was it then? Don't tell me that's gameplay. Like, because I swear to God, if I hear an Xbox fan say that Hellblade was gameplay, I'm gonna have to literally uppercut every motherfucker who shits on Sony for making what was it, cinematic games, like playable fucking movies. It was, though. In engine. It's fine, man. Like, I'm still super hyped for Hellblade, like, because I know Hellblade's going to be good. I know that. I'm just saying that if we're talking about a presentation, where's that gameplay? Where's the combat? Like, I played Hellblade 1, man. There's a good amount of gameplay in that. So you're saying Hellblade is a tech demo? I hate that they treat it that way. Because that's what they're trying to do. We're like, this is on Xbox Series X. Like, I would have never guessed. I would have never guessed that's what it was up running on. But I know, because they've gotten criticism for doing PC. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see, man. I'm still hyped for Hellblade. Second Coming, you're saying, rumor is they're preparing to close the deal within the next couple of days in the US and the UK. They are snakes. Yes, they fucking are. And you're going to love it, man. You're going to love it, because as soon as they close the deal, they're going to announce it, and you're going to see all these motherfuckers who will be like, yes, they fucking did it. They did it. Microsoft fucking rules. Game Pass. And I'm just like, you guys have no fucking idea. Like, you guys have just no idea what you're cheering on. It's cool, though, man. If there's one thing I realized is I can bitch and I can moan and I can rant and I can rave and you guys can listen, but nothing's going to stop the train that is Microsoft, dude. Nothing. Nothing's going to stop it. That's the sad reality. No, I didn't say there's anything wrong with Game Pass. I'm just saying that, people are getting super hyped about the great deal that they're going to get with Activision Blizzard games going to Game Pass. And I get it. From a consumer perspective, that is a win. From a wider perspective, an industry-wide perspective, Microsoft just, the dam broke When this deal closes, the dam is broken and it's over. In terms of industry consolidation, it's fucking over. It's over. If Microsoft steamrolls the CMA and basically brute forces their way to, yeah, Activision's ours. Sorry. Oh, it's over, dude. They're gonna gobble up. Who's next? Ubisoft? Fuck, maybe go for Capcom. I guess everybody forgets. When did Microsoft say that they're going to be done when they get Activision Blizzard? Oh, wait, that's right. They didn't say that. In fact, they said quite the opposite. They said, actually, we're going to keep acquiring. So when people say, you're just afraid, bro. Well, you know what? I will say this. If you're a PlayStation player, if you're somebody who cares about these games, right? There's no guarantee in the long run. Mind you, I just want to put it out there. By the way, Sony never signed that contract with Microsoft. Wrestling Mark, you're saying you defend the consumers, not the corporations. Okay. Well, we'll see where we will see where that leads, because we talk about Game Pass. We talk about the great deal, the money you're saving, and that's fine. And that's great. Like I said, that is pro-consumer right now. Let's see where it leads. Let's see how a $1 trillion company becomes a $1 trillion company in real time. Let me see. Steven Jones, you're saying Starfield at 30 FPS is a slap in the face. So many Xbox fans are saying how it's okay because of the fidelity Bethesda's going for. I'm tired of it, man. Like, it's fucking dumb. Like these are the same people that have made the argument, and they've died on that hill. When we talk about next gen games and how the Series S might impact that, they were out here, dude, with their armor, with their shields, with their spears, being like, I will fucking die for the Series S. That's what I'm going to do. Scalability, baby. Better believe it. But when we see a game like Starfield come out and it's like, yeah, this game is locked at 4K 30 FPS, not a single question of, you're sure you couldn't like do 1080p 60? Like, that's just impossible. All of a sudden, it's just impossible. It's impossible now. It's bullshit. It's all bullshit. The reality is Bethesda is not able to get the game running at 60 FPS. That's the reality. In fact, if you read their statement, okay, which I'll actually read to you, if you read this statement and you read between the lines, Bethesda says, of course, Starfield and Redfall are different games. And if Starfield does release on console with a locked 30 FPS performance, it will be the smoothest, most consistent game Bethesda Game Studios has ever released at launch. They're literally out here saying that if we can even get this game to run at a stable 30 FPS, that's a W. This is where we are. Now look, if you were to ask me, so MBG, you're saying you would never play a game at 30 FPS. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. I completely understand the people who are coming out and saying, well, the game looks really good, and if it's a stable 30 FPS, I can live with that. I get that. But I am just fucking baffled at how the rhetoric for literally years can be about not only power, but 60 FPS, and how all this shit's going to be possible on the competition. It's going to struggle over here, but it's going to be possible over there. And then it's the literal opposite. They can't even get a game like Redfall at 60 FPS, which still isn't at 60 FPS, mind you. But everybody's just okay. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, there's a problem here. You don't have to lose your shit like me. You don't have to scream and make it sound like, fuck this game, I'm not buying this game. You don't have to do that. But you also don't have to just come out and be like, man, that's okay. That's totally fine, bro. Like, what the hell? Like, what happened? Did I miss something? Like, did I actually miss something? Because I feel like I did. Like, I feel like I had to have missed something that everybody is just suddenly okay with this. Like, they're not even saying 60 is a possibility. They're just saying, we'll be lucky if we can run at a stable 30. Whatever. I guess Starfield's just that mind-bending. It's just that mind-bending. Okay. If you say so. Let me see. I got to catch up with these super chats. Zombie Dragon, you're saying fanboys do not care if they are fair or not. If you say one negative thing about the company, they turn against you instantly. That is true. It goes both ways. Goes both ways. No doubt about that. Saying, to be honest, there's not a game like Starfield out there. I want to look, before people go ballistic on me, I am not being snarky when I ask this question. I'm actually being genuine, and I'm looking for some answers. I'm going to ask the question, again, not to be snarky, because I know that no matter what, people are going to be like, whatever, MBG, but I'm serious. I'm asking for some real, like, actually valid answers. What exactly is Starfield doing that has never been done before, or that is like considered like so next gen? You know, like so just like next level. I'm seriously asking that. See, Space D, that's not an answer though, man. You're saying nothing comes close to BGS stuff, but that's not actually an answer. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm actually looking for somebody to explain that to me. Not, again, Wrestling Mark, that's not an answer. Didn't I watch the direct? Yeah, I watched it. I'm just asking, like, what about it has never been done before? Saying thousands of planets. You sure? I mean, it's procedural generation. I'm pretty sure it's been done before. Fully living interactive worlds. You sure? I think that's been done before. That's like saying, what is Spider-Man 2 doing that hasn't been done before? The answer is nothing. Spider-Man isn't doing anything that hasn't been done before. It's just doing it really, really, really well. You're saying Starfield is great, stop capping. Whoa, hold on, dude. Don't put words in my mouth. At what point did I say Starfield doesn't look great? I'm asking what it's doing that no other game has done. That's my question. You're saying you got to take into consideration how massive the game is, because that's the reason why they keep running late 60, because I kind of lost you there. You're saying look at the Digital Foundry video on Starfield. I'll check it out. This is stupid, MBG. You're trying to tell people not to be excited. No, I'm not. Whoa, hold on. Hold. No. Let's get something straight. I'm not telling anybody to not be excited. At no point did I say don't be excited for Starfield. What I'm actually doing is making sure that Xbox and fucking Xbox fanboys don't do the exact same shit that they have crucified PlayStation fans for. And that is over-exaggerating what your game is doing, like the game that you're championing. Because I'll tell you what, I've had to deal with a lot of shit when I expressed my excitement for Sony games that I thought looked like they were doing some great shit. And I've been told over and over and over again, it ain't fucking doing nothing special, bro. You're just a fanboy. And now I'm seeing a lot of these same dudes doing the same shit with Starfield. And I'm not out here saying Starfield looks bad. I've said numerous times, Starfield looks very good. A lot of it looks impressive. I just need to know what's so next level about it. What's so mind-bending and next-gen about it? Because I remember when Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart came out, all I got were people coming out here telling me how there's nothing next-gen looking about Ratchet & Clank. I'm not saying Ratchet & Clank has anything to do with Starfield. What I'm saying is Insomniac was showing some things, basically saying, like, this hasn't really been done before, like, in this way, and we're really trying to experiment and see how far we can push it. And people like me were like, that's pretty impressive. I'm excited to play it. Cool. You know, I like Ratchet & Clank. I think it's cool that Insomniac's trying to do that. And then people were like, bro, that shit's a joke. I'm like, what? Like, that shit ain't next gen. Like, oh, okay, I guess. You know, and then it got to a point where people were trying to argue that this shit can be done on the PS3 if I wanted to do this on the PS3. Like, oh, well, all right. Okay. You know? Saying they really need to get rid of the creation engine. No Man's Sky did it before Bethesda. They only combined it with Fallout. Damn, bro. I see people mentioning the scale. Okay, all right. Now, when you say scale, what about, like, okay, like, what is that? I need details. So, like, if we talk about the scale of Starfield, you know what I mean? Like, I don't, I'm just trying to understand. That's all. I'm serious. I'm actually just trying to understand what, like, when people talk about scale, what is it that is being done in terms of scale that hasn't been done before? More barren worlds. Jeez, you guys are brutal. 4K textures on 1,000 planets. Oh, so wait, those, you're telling me those 1,000 planets are all loaded in at one time? Well, that doesn't make any sense. Of course they're not. Do you know what I think's happening? I think this is the Sony effect. And you know how I can say that? Because, yeah, if there's anybody who knows the Sony effect when they see it, it's me. And probably many of you. This is the Sony effect. This is people being very impressed by what looks to be a very good game, like a top tier game. And the people who are the most excited are basically pushing it forward as like, dude, this shit, oh, this is like the next big thing. This is the next best thing since sliced bread. It's interesting to watch. And I get it. It's easy to get kind of caught up in it. And I'm not telling people to be less excited. I'm just saying. You're saying like Final Fantasy 16? I don't see anything being done in Final Fantasy 16 that looks like, oh, that shit's never been done before, bro. Like, no, it looks like a lot of stuff that's been done before. A lot of stuff happening at one time coming together in a over the top way. I think if I had to describe Starfield, that's what it is too. MBG, do you mean you need details? Didn't you watch the direct? They pretty much explained it to us. No, I mean, I get that. It's just I don't, like, I understand that Todd Howard and Bethesda, they're going to hype up their game and they're going to talk about how it's, you know, it's completely next level. And I get it. Like, there's no like, the one thing I will say about Starfield that I can notice just from watching that direct is, yeah, it's got a shit ton of systems and it's like it's an insanely deep game. That's the thing about it that gets me. It's a deep, layered game. Like, this game has fucking layers upon layers upon layers. And if I had to identify anything about Starfield that is making people go, what the fuck? I think it's that it's such a deep game. Like, I remember saying after the direct yesterday, I was like, dude, this is a game people are going to live in. Straight up. Like, they're going to live inside this game. And that's because of just how many layers there are. But none of those layers, from what I've seen, none of those layers that I've seen are like there's not a layer that it's like, holy shit, this has never been done before. You could make, maybe that's the scale argument right there. Maybe the scale argument is a game has never had this many layers in it before. Like there's never been a game this deep and layered in such a detailed way. That I could agree with. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Final Fantasy 16 is struggling to hit 60 FPS. Oh shit. Fucking, I would hope not. I would hope not, dude. The demo. Damn, bro. That's going to be a big L. That's going to be a huge L for Sony and for Square. It depends on how much it's struggling. Who's saying this anyway? I haven't played it yet. Saying you played it for 5 hours today? Damn, dude. Frame pacing issues. $60 down to 47. Yikes. That's pretty bad. I hope they fix that shit before launch. Because, dude, I'm going to be honest with you right now, man. Like, I'm not going to... This is where it's just like, look, if I have no choice but to play the game at 30, I will. But I can't come out here and just make it sound like, oh yeah, like 30 FPS, totally fine with that. Like I'm not. I'm not. Like if I have no choice, I have no choice. But fuck, man. Saying he is lying. Well, hey man, I haven't played it myself. Hold on a second. Who's saying that? Who am I? Whose chat am I reading? It's not 30 MBG. Well, I'm going to play it. Dude, I'll report to you guys. I'll let you know. I'm going to be playing it tonight. Am I going to probably not going to stream it. Just want to enjoy it on my own. But I'll play it tonight and I'll let you know if I cuz I was probably going to play in the performance mode. I mean, I was under the assumption that they would have both the performance, because one thing I'm excited about the Final Fantasy demo is the progress you make in it carries over to the full game. To me, that's awesome. I like that. Because that makes me feel like there is a point to actually playing the demo, since I'm already planning on getting the game. Saying who's claiming this? Yeah, I don't know who's claiming this. I don't know. My chat could just be trolling me. They do that. I see Final Fantasy 16 trending. I'll see if there's any scrolling. I don't see anybody mentioning frame rate. Not seeing anything. So I don't know, man. All I see are people enjoying the game, really. But yeah, here's the truth about Starfield. Like, I can say whatever I want about Starfield. I could sit here and I could go on and on about I don't quite understand what looks so mind-bending and next gen about it. Like, I can see how it's a massive game and I can see that it's very layered, and maybe that's the biggest next gen aspect. But the reality for Starfield is the same reality that Spider-Man 2 shares with it, and that is you could try to tear that fucking game down all day, every day. What did we see after the PlayStation showcase? So many people just tearing shit down, dude, for Spider-Man. And I was over there being like, what the fuck? Like, did we look at the same game? And it just makes me realize that, like, that's how it is, man. Like, people, they're in heated competition, man. People are going to tear shit down. People are going to tear shit down. And I could sit here and say Starfield looks like a piece of garbage. I don't think it does, but I could say, like, it looks like garbage. It doesn't even look good. People are overhyping it. It doesn't matter. Game's going to crush. Game's going to kill. There's no stopping that. There's no stopping that train. Straight up. Same thing with Spider-Man 2. See, this is the Starfield is the competition that Sony needs. Michael Lynch, you're saying you Xbots are a joke. You have one good showcase and you think Xbox is beating Sony. Last I checked, Sony has been releasing games every year since the PS5 released. Not Xbox, freaking bots. Listen, man, there have been a lot of people waiting for this day. They've had an axe to grind, and they are not hiding it. And I don't blame them. I get it. You've had to spend years being shit on for supporting a platform that has been struggling to release games, that has been struggling to do what it is they need to do. They finally did what they needed to do, but they did it at a time when Sony seemingly, for whatever reason, slipped up with their own showcase. So yes, make no mistake, people have been lying in wait for this day. And that's the part that eludes me. It's the part where it's like, I mean, be happy, be excited, but I don't know that it's a good look to basically come out and act like, Xbox just revolutionized the AAA games market. I don't know about that. Buck, you're saying, MBG, I told you before, Sony could afford Bethesda, and they should have bought Bethesda. No way the market leader was not approached to buy ZeniMax. Ryan dropped the ball. You could be right. We can't prove that, Buck. But that's the thing, man. Like, let me ask you, if Sony bought Bethesda, would that stop Microsoft from buying Activision and anybody else that they're going to buy afterwards? No, it wouldn't. Sony hasn't bought a publisher. Sony is not, as far as I'm aware, Sony's not buying a publisher. They might. We asked for competition. We didn't ask for consolidation war. I want to make that clear. We asked for competition, not a fucking consolidation war. But that's what we got. A consolidation war. Jacob Redman, I don't know why. I don't know if you super chatted, but for some reason the text isn't there, man. So thank you for your super chats. Why am I not watching the Ubisoft Forward? Because truthfully, man, like I'm not super high up on Ubisoft. I don't have a problem with them, but I'm just, they're not a publisher I get overly excited about anymore. It's been a long time. I'm just going to check what they announce once it's over. John, no, I'm going to get to your super chat. And Emer T, thank you so much for the super sticker, man. Brian C23, you're saying, can't you say Xbox held back too then? They only showed a couple of studios out of the 23 they have. So actually, there is something I plan on doing, and that is going over all the studios for both Sony and Microsoft and talking about which studios have shown, which ones have not. So to give us a better perspective on this whole thing. 18 May, you're saying, looking big, MBG, you hitting preacher curls? No preacher curls, actually. It's been a while since I've done preacher curls. Just regular curls. Just the standard old, barbell curl or dumbbell curl. The combo clinic, you're saying, lost you. Gotta find you. The combo clinic, you're saying, are you going to play the Final Fantasy 16 demo after the stream? I don't think it was a coincidence that Square Enix and Sony released it right after the Xbox show, LOL. The timing is conspicuous, no doubt about it. I am going to play it later tonight, yeah. Absolutely. I'm excited for it. I already have it installed. Buck, you're saying, MBG, Jim Ryan fell for the Okie done. All this focus by Sony on ABK, Ryan could have destroyed Xbox and ended the console war 2 years ago by securing Starfield on PS5. Ryan never, Ryan never opposed the Bethesda deal. Why? Well, dude, because, look, I'm not saying this is how Sony viewed it. This is because I can't tell you how Sony viewed it, but what I can say is this. To me, it just seems like Microsoft buying Bethesda is exactly what they needed to compete. And that's why it was difficult for me to ever get frustrated by Sony buying Bethesda, because I just or Microsoft buying Bethesda, because I just thought that's kind of what Sony needs, right? Like Sony needs the competition. And to me, it was just obvious that Microsoft can't do it alone with their own studios. They do not know how to do it. They need a leader. Like they need a gaming studio or company or just somebody there that knows what they're doing. And I'm not saying that Sony was happy about it and said, "Oh, look, now Microsoft can compete." No, Sony obviously wasn't happy. But the truth is, man, like, look, I know people are going to absolutely disagree with this, but it's the fucking truth. And if you don't believe me, watch. Just sit back and watch. Sony doesn't need Bethesda. They don't. Am I saying that it's good that they don't have Bethesda? No, I'm not saying that. Ideally, Sony would have Bethesda games, but they don't need Bethesda to continue to do what they're doing, to continue to make as much money as they're making, to continue to potentially be the market leader, or at the very least, compete for that spot. They don't need Bethesda. Microsoft legitimately, clearly needs Bethesda, because let me ask you, what does Xbox's showcase look like yesterday without Starfield? What does it look like? I'll tell you what it looks like. It still looks like a pretty decent showcase, but people are not walking. The number one game that people walked away talking about yesterday was Starfield. Sony, look, if Sony needed Bethesda, then I need to know, why are they still around right now? Why are they still around right now? Why is everything seemingly perfectly fine? Sony can survive without Bethesda. I don't know if the same, look, beyond Bethesda, now you're getting into, if you go beyond Bethesda, that's where things for Sony get concerning. Because it's bad that Sony lost Starfield. It's bad that Sony won't get the Elder Scrolls. It's bad that Sony lost all those studios and all those games that would have otherwise just released on their platform. But it's not going to kill them. It's not going to end PlayStation. It's not going to impact them to such a detrimental degree that it's like, holy shit, Microsoft just crushed us. If anything, it is the exact thing that will allow Microsoft, as I said, to compete with Sony. But if you talk about Microsoft getting more than Bethesda and then potentially making those games exclusive or taking those games off of PlayStation or whatever they might do in the long run, oh yeah, then you're talking now some serious damage could be done. And that's not a slight, just to be clear, because I know how people are taking that. When I say Sony doesn't need Bethesda, that's not me saying because Bethesda sucks. I'm not saying that. I know that's what people want to hear. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying literally, they don't actually need them. It would be ideal for them to have them, but no, Bethesda is a good, relatively good publisher. They've lost their way, but they're seemingly coming back with Starfield, and people are happy about it. And that's again, who needs that? Not Sony, Microsoft. Hence why Microsoft bought them. You're saying, I mean, Buck, you're basically making the argument that there's no way. Yeah, you're right, dude. Bethesda may have went to Sony and said, do you want to buy us? And Sony was like, no. Because that's what you have to understand, man, is like, what could Starfield do for Sony as an exclusive? If Sony pays $7.5 billion for Bethesda, what's Starfield going to do for them as an exclusive that a game like Spider-Man 2 or a game like God of War Ragnarok isn't already doing for them? You know? I think that's where people, they seem to continually miss the point that Sony is not in a bad position because their games do very well. Sony would have to pay, like, there's a reason why Sony approached them and were like, do you want to do a timed exclusivity deal? Because that makes more sense for Sony, where it's like, we can leverage this game. We could pay an upfront cost, but we're not paying $7.5 billion, you know? Dude, why are people getting so mad? Like, you're saying stop downplaying Starfield. At what point have I downplayed Starfield? Just because I'm not in agreement. Like, dude, I saw that Starfield Direct. I did not walk away from that game saying, holy shit, I've never seen anything like this in my life. I have. Like, I've seen many different games that have done similar things. Not in that exact way. But I've walked away saying Starfield looks great, man. Like, nothing about Starfield looks bad. I mean, the weakest part about Starfield is probably the fact that it's 30 FPS. Fabrice, you're saying Microsoft is better at PR than most companies, and they won't be first in gaming. They want to be one in the world. Now they are two in the world. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Microsoft knows exactly how to do the marketing. They know exactly what to say. Microsoft, from a marketing PR standpoint, has learned a lot, and they now know how to get their cake and eat it too. They do. It's so funny to me, dude, seeing like some Xbox YouTubers and shit being like flown out to the Xbox event, and like and like these are like the same people who like, yeah, I'm unbiased. Like, okay. All right, if you say so. Shit, I mean, it'd be like, dude, imagine if Sony flew me out to like their event, you know? And I actually tried to come out here and be like, you guys can trust me. I'll be honest with you, I never understood that shit. And I know I'm talking about like the Xbox people right now, but dude, I'm talking like, I never understood this shit in the industry where content creators literally have a relationship with a company. You know what I mean? Like, how are you ever supposed to believe they're going to tell you the truth? Because the moment they tell you the truth, they just blacklisted themselves. At least most times. So that's why, I don't know. To me, that shit's always been a little weird. Like, I've always felt like there's a clear wall here. And the reason why there's a wall here is because there has to be. But, you know, what are you going to do? Buck, you're saying Starfield is a generational game. After the showcase, in 5 years, it will sell 25 to 30 million and be played by 45 million or more total, including Game Pass. Massive game. I believe that. I believe that. I fully expect that's the type of heavy lifting that Starfield's going to do for Microsoft. The question, I think, is simply, again, like, when we talk about selling 25 to 30 million, possibly being played by 45 million, is that not competitive enough? Because that is more than any of Sony's games. PS Gamer, thank you for the 20, man. You're saying, MBG, I don't want to sound like a fanboy, but help me understand how Microsoft's show was a good show. Fable and Avowed looked mediocre at best. Both give me Redfall first revealed vibe, and the Clock FPS game looks like Bioshock, like a cheap ripoff. Well, PS Gamer, that's the thing, man. From my perspective, like, the reason why I think... So, I walked away from Xbox's show yesterday, as I told you guys. How I told you, like, this... Look, I appreciate what Microsoft displayed here, but it like, none of it made me be like, yeah, I got to go get an Xbox. I've seen people reacting that way to Starfield, and I think Starfield, like, I understand that. Like, people who see a game like Starfield and are like, yeah, I think I'm going to have to buy an Xbox. I get that shit. And isn't that so fucking funny that like feels like it doesn't matter if we just make great games, we're not going to catch up to Sony and sell enough consoles. It's like, meanwhile, they're out here being like, our shortage is over. Go buy an Xbox. I can't deal with the hypocrisy, bro. Anyway, PS Gamer, look, man, the reason why, at the very least, I think people are willing to give Microsoft credit that they had a good show is because, as I said, they did what they needed to do. If you want to get into the deeper conversation about, like you're saying, to you, Fable and Avowed looked mediocre. That's your opinion, man. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, if you said they look amazing, there'd be nothing wrong with that. I just think that the most objective way of viewing Microsoft showcase is simply, did they show, how many first party titles did they show, and how much of these titles did they show? And I think that when you combine those two things, it was, they come together to basically say that a good amount, a pretty good amount, that I did say this yesterday, and I will stand by this. Imagine if that was a PlayStation showcase and just replace the name of games like Fable and Avowed and Hellblade with PlayStation games that you would expect to see, and keep like the way that we saw the trailers, keep that the same. You're telling me, see, PS Gamer, your name says it, you're a PlayStation Gamer, you'd be excited. So PlayStation Gamer, I think where you stand right now is kind of where I stand, which is maybe the only difference is you don't think it was a good show. I think it was a good show, but we are on the same level where it's like, dude, I can understand why people are excited for some of those games that they saw. The only game I saw that truly is going to make me consider going out and buying an Xbox is Hellblade. And that's it. I'm not interested in Avowed. Fable might, like, I have to see more Fable, man. I don't care what anybody says. People can gush about Fable's graphics all day. That trailer was weird to me. It was. Like, I need to see what that game is going to play like before I can say confidently that I care about Fable. So Fable didn't do it for me. Compulsion's game didn't do it for me. I'm not interested in Avowed. I will admit that Clockwork game looks pretty interesting. So that's from In Exile. Like, maybe that's a game I could see myself playing. It doesn't look half bad. Starfield, I'm not interested in. So, for me, it really does come down to, like, on a personal level, like, am I going to jump to go buy an Xbox? Hell no, dude. Like, I really don't care that much. Like, that's not me, because that's not me saying I hate Xbox and I think their games look like shit. Like, no, good job. You did it. It just turns out that the games a lot of the games you showed, it's like, oh, okay, well, most of them look good, but they just don't look like the type of games that I would see myself kind of jumping at, if that makes sense. Except for Hellblade. I hope Hellblade doesn't disappoint me, man. Clearly, I put a lot of stock in Hellblade. Would you play State of Decay 3? I really wanted to see State of Decay 3. I was actually kind of upset that it wasn't there. There's a 95% chance I'm going to play State of Decay 3, yes. Forza Motorsport was there too, but, it's Forza. So thank you for the super chat, PS Gamer. Carlos B, you're saying, MBG, you listen to people on Twitter too much. If I listen to what people say in the comments, I'd hate all games for the dumbest reasons. Oh, I know, but at the very least, you have to admit it creates some entertainment value. People wonder, like, why do you go back and read on Twitter? Because it creates entertainment value, man. For me, and I can relay that to you. Sometimes it gets annoying, but we'll see, man. We're going to see. I'll tell you right now, there is some truth, though. That's why when we talk about the internet and we talk about Twitter, we can at least come to the agreement that there is some truth there sometimes. And the truth, like, I'm seeing some truth on both sides. Like, there's a fucking war going on right now between PlayStation and Xbox fans. And there's some truth on both sides, but a lot of bullshit on both sides. You know? Like the truth is, yeah, Xbox had a good showcase. The truth is, PlayStation is still doing great, man. And they have it like, here's what I noticed no one's fucking talking about. Why is no one talking about how Sony actually has a pretty solid second half of this year? Like a way better second half of this year than the first half. Like why, like no one's talking about that. That's weird to me. Like it's weird to me that everybody walked away from Sony's showcase saying that showcase was garbage and why does fucking Spider-Man look like that? And everybody's walking away from Microsoft. And this is where when I said the bar was low for Xbox, this is exactly what I meant, dude. Like Xbox has 2 first-party titles launching this year. Forza and Starfield. And that's big. Like Xbox is ending the year strong. I wonder if are there any Xbox. I'm curious if there are any other Xbox titles that I'm forgetting to mention. I want to make sure I'm not being unfair here. Age of Empires 4? Is that coming out this year? It's difficult for me to count Forza. It's like a sports title at this point, you know? And it's not that it's not that I'm trying to compare them to be like Sony's fucking better. For the first time in forever, it seems like Microsoft and Sony are going head to head this holiday. For the first time. You're saying don't you count GT though? Yeah. And yeah, just being objective about it, like Forza does count. A lot of people are going to play it. So it seems to me like this is the lineup for 2023. And this will, you know what, let me read through these super chats and then I want to talk about the lineups because I think that'll be a fun conversation. PS Gamer, you're saying no Hellblade 2 gameplay after all these years. Don't be shocked when it turns out it's a 5-hour game. A lot of indie and CGI. Microsoft didn't prove anything with their showcase. Sony don't need to do anything until their studios are ready. I mean, I agree with you in that Sony shouldn't do anything with their studios until they're ready, but I do believe that there is more pressure on Sony now. I'm not saying Hellblade alone is like that game to do it. No, there's a game right now out there that has just applied massive amounts of pressure to Sony. That is Starfield, to a degree. Now, somebody might say, well, you know, Sony didn't seem to care when Zelda released, right? Like, so why would they worry about Starfield? Yeah, but here's the difference between Zelda and Starfield. Starfield was supposed to release on PS5. See what I'm saying? Like, it's a double whammy for Sony, where not only does Microsoft have a game now that you're going to have to contend with because they're selling consoles that are similar to the PS5. So you're competing with that. You're contending with that. Now they have a game that's going to be considered a must-have game. Now you have to contend with that. And this was a game that they ripped away from your platform. Yikes. That's a triple whammy right there. So PS Gamer, I do agree to an extent that like the Xbox showcase by itself without Starfield, like, is that like, holy shit, like, dude, they're about to kill Sony. Like, no, certainly not. But it really is Starfield that's like, the amount of people that I have seen tell me Starfield is bigger than anything Sony has. Anything Sony has. I'm like, okay, well, that sounds like competition to me. GTA 6 is going to be 30 FPS and y'all are going to love it. Dude, that would suck. Could you, like, dude, could you imagine waiting? I'm sorry, that sucks, dude. That if that's the case, then we do need mid-gen refresh consoles, bro. Because that's crazy. That's absolutely wild. Eric from 850, you're saying, hey, MBG, it's been a minute since I've chatted, but I always watch you. I just finished the Final Fantasy 16 demo this morning. Have you tried it? It convinced me to pre-order. Also, damn, You on one today, my boy? Yeah, sure people will probably clip me in the whole 9 fucking yards, but that's just the way it goes, man. Like I said, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So fuck it. When it comes to Final Fantasy 16, I have not played the demo yet. As I said, I do have it installed. I'm gonna play it later today. When I'm calmed down and done ranting and raving and whatnot. Excuse me. But I'm happy to hear that, man. I'm actually very excited to play Final Fantasy 16. I am very excited to play Final Fantasy 16. It's been a long time coming. I'm very interested to see how it feels to play, and I'm very, very happy. How long is it, by the way, Eric? Somebody let me know, how long is the Final Fantasy 16 demo, because the fact that it carries over to the game, like, I highly doubt I'm gonna be able to. That's it. Shit. About 2 hours, maybe a little bit longer than 2 hours. Damn. I don't know why I was hoping it was longer than that. Because I'm like almost sitting here thinking, like, damn, I can start if I just play, like, 10 to 15 minutes a day, by the time I complete the demo, it'll be like leading up to the actual launch of the game, and I won't have to wait long. Saying it took 3 hours subtext. Okay. All right. Well, that's good enough. I mean, it is a demo after all. I don't know why I would expect it to be longer than that. So I appreciate that, Eric. Josh, 2 super chats from you saying, I told you last week Xbox would have an okay show and it'll be talked about like it was the best ever. Objectively, the show was good due to the sheer amount of first party and better than the PlayStation showcase. On a personal note, I found the show to be pretty mid because even though there were a lot of first party, none of the games really looked good. They looked 360. Damn, that's rough, bro. 360. I don't know that the games look 360 to me. I think, Josh, I think that's a fair assessment. You're saying objectively the show is good due to the sheer amount of first party, and in that regard, it was definitely better than the PlayStation showcase. I'm in agreement with that. I'm in agreement. I'm pretty much in agreement with everything you just said. Pretty much. So thank you for speaking your mind, Josh, and giving your 2 cents. I appreciate it, dude. Thank you for the super chats. Vino, you're saying Starfield is a very big game. 60 FPS will result in reducing creative direction in terms of development for Xbox. People need to understand that. And you know what? Here's all I can say, Vino. I sure fucking hope. I sure hope when the day comes when Sony's like, yeah, this game's 30 FPS. So that way we don't have to reduce our creative direction in terms of development. I sure hope people understand that. Because something tells me they won't. Something tells me they fucking won't. But I mean, look, man, like I said, I think it's crazy that my whole problem with the whole 30 FPS thing with Starfield simply lies in the fact that it doesn't need to be defended. Okay? Like, people who bought an Xbox Series X and people who bought a PS5 under the, essentially the promise that, yeah, pretty much all games are going to run at 60 in a performance mode. That's a completely justified feeling, Like, it is completely justifiable if you pay $500 for a console that almost every game has a 60 FPS performance mode, especially from a first-party studio. A first-party studio, there's nothing wrong with expecting 60 FPS. There's nothing wrong with it. Now, if it just simply comes down to it just is impossible, then fine. Then it's impossible. But that doesn't mean people have to be happy about it and be like, oh, well, okay. I mean, you said it's impossible, and so that must mean the game's just that good. Like, I guess, but I just tried to explain to people, like, it's okay for people to want 60 FPS on their new console. It's totally fine. And yeah, I see people saying, like, Zelda's going to win Game of the Year at 30 FPS, 720p or whatever. This argument doesn't exist outside of Twitter. And it's like, so that just invalidates it? I don't think it invalidates it. Not at all. Josh, you're saying also Starfield being locked at there we go. Locked at 30 is an L, period. No, can't say that, Josh. You can't say that. What do you mean? Fabrice, you're saying, or sorry, from Scratch Gamer, you're saying Phil Spencer is Emperor Palpatine, and the Xbots are the rest of the Galactic Council cheering on the birth of the Empire. God damn. That was nerdy and I loved it. There we go. We got a Star Wars reference in today, guys. Figuratively literal. Or sorry, Fabrice Paul, you're saying, as an RPG fan, in 2022, Starfield looked like it could be a great game, but now it looks like they can make, again, one of the greatest RPGs of all time. It's number one on Steam now. If I had to guess, I think Starfield is going to go down as one of those games. I do. I think it's going to go down as one of those games. I think Starfield will end up being remembered. I think it'll be up there with the Elder Scrolls. I could see that happening. It has that potential for sure. So you're not wrong. At least I don't think so. Figuratively literal, you're saying, hey, MBG, there's a report saying the FTC to file an injunction looking to block Microsoft's Activision Blizzard deal. Don't know how successful it'll be, though. I don't know either. I don't know. Apparently, Microsoft is actively looking for ways to close this deal, regardless of any of the flack that they're getting. Regardless of any of the flack that they're getting, they're gonna try to force it through, and I guess they'll just deal with it afterwards. So, I don't know, man. I don't know if that's actually gonna work or not, but Microsoft, no matter what, at the end of the day, still has to contend with the CMA and the FTC. Spacebar, you're saying, as someone that is actually hyped for Starfield due to Bethesda bugs, I probably won't be playing it day one. I'm glad Xbox had a good showcase, though. Also, I don't think Starfield is super unique. Anyone making that case is going over the top. A game doesn't have to be unique to be good. And there you go. I think that's totally fair, Spacebar. Like, that's the thing, is I think a game that does things that have been done before, but they try to do it in a way that hasn't been done before. Like, they just try to do it in the best possible way. I think a lot of times that's what makes games so great. You know? That's what makes games so great. Are there still unique games? Of course there are, but it's like somebody said to me one time, and I think that this is just the truth. They were like, dude, the most innovation that's going on in the gaming industry is happening in the indie space, not in the AAA space, not even close. And to me, that's obvious. Because when I look at, and I'm a AAA gamer, when I look at all the AAA games, there isn't shit out there that looks innovative. There's shit that looks damn good and refined, and like you're pushing it, you're refining and you're evolving. But in terms of just like sheer unique innovation, yeah, I see that stuff in the indie space, man. And that, that's not just applicable to Microsoft. That's applicable to Sony and everybody else. Mostly. Saying Nintendo, yeah, okay, yeah, that's true. I guess I wasn't really counting Nintendo there. VR, yeah, VR is doing some. VR is probably one of the most innovative spaces right now. So I appreciate that, Spacebar. Adam, you're saying Xbox fans were crapping on Zelda for being 30 FPS in 2023. Told them the game was bigger and very ambitious for a Switch game. Now folks are saying Starfield is too big and ambitious to run at 60. Yeah, I've seen some of those people too. You see what I mean? Like, let's shit on Zelda for being 30 FPS until we find out our game is actually going to be at 30 FPS. And it's like, our game looks so much bigger and better. It's like, look, man, it's okay to want 60 FPS. It's okay. It's fine. Like, it's not a big deal. You don't have to take I think people take extreme stances with this, like super extreme, Like, I think people take a stance to where it's like, if a game isn't 60 FPS, I'm not playing that shit. Until they find out it's a game that you actually really want to play. And then you're like, okay, 30 FPS is okay. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, it was always okay. And just like it's okay to play a game at 30 FPS if that's your only option, and it's also okay to have a great desire to want to play a game at 60. Both things can be true at the same time. It's fine. It's totally fine. Like if Spider-Man 2 was announced to be 30 FPS, I'd be pissed. I'd be like, God damn, how? I could have swore this game was going to have a 60 FPS performance mode. All the signs pointed to that. Does that mean I'm not going to play it? Of course not. I'm going to play it. But I'd still be wishing for a 60 FPS mode. You know what I mean? It's fine. Call it what it is. It's Nell. It's fine. Like it's not a super major like deal breaking L, but it's Nell. And I just think that like people are afraid to criticize, man. It's okay. You can be critical. You just gotta be fair about it. That's all. Himanshu Udav, you're saying I played the Final Fantasy 16, drops to 40 FPS and horrible motion blur. Sorry to hear that, Himanshu. You probably shouldn't buy it then. What do you think? You probably shouldn't buy it. Because I can only assume that 40 FPS and motion blur just fucking wrecked your experience. Like, it doesn't matter how the game played. It doesn't matter how it felt. That 40 FPS and that motion blur, I can only assume it completely annihilated your experience. So maybe don't buy it. John O, you're saying, MBG, your thoughts on Senua's 10 steps of gameplay. You know what? Some of the most beautiful 10 steps I've ever seen. I loved it, man. That shit was immersive. Dude, I legit was shocked. Like, I had a really hard time, like, not kind of blurting out in that moment, like, what the fuck? Like, no gameplay? What is going on? That was crazy. Yeah, the motion blur is horrible. Also, the dialogue is boring. Listen, man, not everybody's going to love Final Fantasy 16. I'll tell you guys what I think. Hey, there's a chance I could play Final Fantasy 16. There's a chance I could play this demo and be like, you know what? I thought I would love this game. Turns out not so much. That could happen. That'd be so disappointing though, man. Because I've really been holding out a lot of hope for Final Fantasy, and everything I've seen of it looks good. So it would have to be pretty cataclysmically bad out of nowhere for me to probably not like Final Fantasy 16. Yeah, that first 2 hours of the game would have to be just fucking horrendous. You're saying no, the demo is amazing, MBG. It's just the performance is atrocious. You know, that makes me nervous, man, because it's like, dude, you can't, in my opinion, what's even worse than, I think what's even worse than just having a locked 30 FPS is when you promise a 60 FPS performance mode and it's just trash. I mean, it's almost like, bro. So I hope they fix that shit before launch. I'm not so sure that I'll have to experience it myself though. MBG dude, play the demo, you'll be blown away. I'm excited. Oliver, you're saying PlayStation should act now and make some big moves like Square or CD Projekt Red. Microsoft will not stop after ABK when Game Pass will be flooded with games, good and bad. PlayStation will be in trouble to deliver content. Everybody calm down. You guys forgot what happened the last time Bethesda promised heaven. Fallout 76. Just saying. You know what? There was somebody in my chat yesterday who said that they loved what they saw of Starfield, but because of Fallout 76, they're like, yeah, I'm gonna hold off. I'm gonna wait. I thought that was kind of surprising, but yeah, CD Projekt Red is not gonna sell. I'll be honest, man. Like, I'm in agreement. And I say that not wanting that to be. I don't know, man. I don't want to see Sony join the rat race here. I don't. I really, really don't, because it's just going to suck, dude. It's going to suck. Like, I think Sony is at the perfect number of studios, the perfect output, blended with the perfect type of business model where partners, second-party games, third-party games, and exclusives, like, this works. I just don't know that Sony would be able to handle the overhead, man. if Sony were to acquire like Square Enix, or like Capcom or Konami or anything like that, they'd ultimately just have to do what Microsoft's doing and just be like, guys, look, man, we're Sony would buy them because they need to ensure no one else can get them. They won't be able to really manage them that much. Basically, what they did to Bungie. That actually is what they did to Bungie, where it's like, we're gonna buy you, and you guys are just gonna do your thing, and that's that. So when you think about what Sony wants from their games, I don't know how many studios actually fit that. Like, a lot of people say Square Enix, but the thing we have to keep in mind with Square Enix is not the same as Sony, man. Like, they do put out some bangers, but they also put out some not so great stuff, you know? MBG, Sony shouldn't join the rat race. They should just let Xbox clean up the rest. I've always said, Phil Spencer's grand plan. Foam Stars. Yeah, I got a video coming out later today, and we do talk a little bit about Foam Stars. So there you go. Watch that video. We talk about Foam Stars. We don't just talk about Foam Stars, but yeah, I mean, look, man, I've always said that Phil Spencer's grand plan, his end game, is to get Game Pass on PlayStation. And the way they do that is by eventually taking enough games away from PlayStation that Sony essentially has no choice but to let it in. And that's absolutely what Microsoft did. I think it's comical that people think that's not what Microsoft's trying to do. Like, I think it's like comical how people are like, Microsoft doesn't want to take Call of Duty away from PlayStation. Like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Like, what makes you think that? What has Microsoft done to convince you? What, because they didn't take Minecraft away? Sure, maybe. But I don't know, man. I get this feeling in my gut that Microsoft wants to leverage Activision Blizzard as a way to get Game Pass on the PlayStation in the long run. When that 10-year contract is up and they can do whatever they want, yeah, they'll do whatever they want. And what they'll do is they'll say, well, we have enough subscribers on Game Pass. We don't really need the revenue from PlayStation anymore. And if we take Call of Duty away from PlayStation, we could just turn around and say, Sony, if you want Call of Duty, just let Game Pass on. And every Call of Duty player will, assuming it's even relevant at that point, will turn on Sony and be like, Sony, you better fucking do it. But no, Microsoft would never do such a thing. Come on. By the way, it wouldn't surprise me if the reason why Minecraft was never actually made exclusive to Xbox was because they couldn't do that with a title like Minecraft to ensure in the future when they decide that they're going to buy even bigger companies, they don't have that evidence right there, right? That's just like, see, maybe that's a bit too conspiratorial even for Microsoft, but I don't doubt anything, man. When it comes to these corporations, I don't doubt anything. The only thing I do doubt is the act of we're doing this for, the goodwill of the customer. That's what I doubt. Subtext. You're asking me as well if I played the Final Fantasy 16 demo. Not yet. Don't worry. We're gonna talk all about it tomorrow. I didn't have enough time when getting my stuff set up today to be able to do that. Vino, you're saying, when you say seen it before, but have you seen everything in one game, 4K and in that scale? Many narrative changing elements too. Well, that's what I mean, man. It's like new but not new. And I don't really, I guess in a way, yeah, that to me does seem like enough to make people be like, wow, I've never seen anything like this. Because it's like, I've seen these systems. I've seen, like, a lot of this seems so familiar, but I don't think I've ever seen it all in one spot at this fidelity. So it's like, yeah, there are aspects to it. Um, but it kind of reminds me of how, like, people were so focused on with Spider-Man 2, like, they were so focused on, like, finding every little minute thing wrong with it, like, look at that water or look at that one texture. But they just completely ignore, like, did you guys see how fast, like, Peter Parker and Miles Morales were fucking, like, zooming through that open world, that dense open world city? I've never seen anything like that in a game on this scale, in that fidelity. You know what I mean? You're saying, what's wrong with fair criticism? There's nothing wrong with fair criticism. The problem is when people take what should be fair criticism and then make it unfair by saying, like, dude, what the fuck is up with that water in Spider-Man? Game looks last gen. Like, what? Like, we're just gonna ignore it would be the equivalent of somebody right now saying, yo, how come that one planet in Starfield didn't look that dense? Shit looks last gen. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, you're ignoring everything else that was shown. You're ignoring everything else that was shown. You're saying that's fair criticism. No, that's just called criticism. To me, fair criticism is when you are going to criticize an aspect of something while simultaneously acknowledging the other aspects of it and not ignoring it. To me, that's fair criticism. Josh, you're saying Metroid Prime Remastered runs at a consistent 60 FPS with visuals comparable to PS4. I don't buy the argument about frame rate for games like, you say, Stanfield. It comes down to the studio knowing the hardware. That's why I kind of went off a little bit earlier, dude, where I'm like, I'm seeing the same dudes, the same people on the internet who went out to die for the Series S, letting us know that anything is possible in that console, man. Anything is possible in the Series S, but just suddenly now, just like that, at the flip of a switch, while clearly Starfield cannot possibly run at 60 FPS on the world's most powerful console. It's like, okay. Like, I'm just looking for consistency. That's all. Because people want me to be consistent, and I'm trying. Like, I'm trying my best to be consistent. But you know what I realized is that, dude, I could be the most consistent person out here on YouTube, but because I make it known that I like PlayStation a lot more than Xbox, but I'm still willing to talk about both, doesn't matter. The consistency doesn't matter. To be fair, though, I have been inconsistent in the past. I can admit that. I can admit that. Not all the time. Certainly not. But sometimes. Ripperoonie, you're saying if people want to go without any hassle from the consumer standpoint this gen, they need a PS5. The PS5 is often the main target system equals best optimization. That's probably true to a certain extent. We've seen that multiple times, dude. And I think the reason why the PS5 is the main target is for two reasons. Number one, it has the most amount of consoles and the biggest install base out there. But number two, apparently it's just that easy to develop for. So it really doesn't require a whole lot of work. MBG's pre-workout boost lasts a very long time. You've been pretty good, MBG. You just have an opinion they don't like. Yeah, I know. I'll tell you this though. You know what I've learned in my time doing this? I've learned that when it comes to not everybody, certainly not everybody, but a lot of people on the internet, specifically those that are against a lot of what I say or just always looking to give me a hard time. The one thing I've learned is I am damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. Because you get wrapped up sometimes in this shit where you're like, all right, well, let me entertain this for a little bit and see where it can go. And you learn real quick that shit ain't going nowhere, dude. These people you're trying to rationalize and reason with doesn't exist. There is no compromise. You know? You're saying don't get into a siege mentality? What's a siege mentality? Why have I never heard that before? Ubisoft show has ended. What an awesome show. You missed out. I'll go on Twitter and check it out. There is something else I want to do, but I'll go check it out real quick. Not like the actual showcase, but I'm going to hop on Twitter. It means you're kind of on the defensive permanently. I get what you're saying, and I know that a lot of it it's just frustrating to me, and I know a lot of this comes off as defensive because of the frustration coming through, but the reason being is because, like, dude, I'm witnessing so many people. Like, just, I know people are like, oh, dude, Twitter isn't real, but it's not just Twitter. Like, dude, so many people are just, they're missing so much while simultaneously listening to others and just seeing things, and just they're missing like the bigger picture here. And you know, I will say this, dude, I've done all this talking on this stream. I've answered all these super chats. I've went on rant galore here. However, I realized that I didn't really actually dive deep into the title of this stream, which is PlayStation is in prime position now. I didn't actually thoroughly answer that question. And that's exactly what I'm going to do, because I didn't just put that title for the sake of putting that title. How's that Star Wars Outlaws gameplay look, by the way? I saw somebody in the chat saying it looks like Uncharted Star Wars. Is that what it is? Is it Uncharted Star Wars? Saying it looks really good. Yeah, I'll have to check that out afterwards. Forspoken Star Wars. I don't know. A lot of people are saying it looks good. I'll have to check it out. I don't know. Star Wars is tough for me anymore. Like, I try to stay involved with Star Wars mainly through like gaming, but generally speaking, Star Wars kind of lost me. But all right, so let's talk about, like, how is PlayStation now in prime position? Well, here's what we're gonna do. I have a list of all of Xbox's studios and a list of all of Sony studios. Okay. Now, I said earlier in this stream that Microsoft revealed their hand. Microsoft showed not the whole thing, but a big picture. That's why their showcase was so good. That's why people are so happy, because they finally did it. They showed their hand. They showed their cards. Sony has not shown any cards. Okay? Well, actually, it's not that they haven't shown any, but here, Sony is kind of sneaky here, dude. See, this is where it's like, the more I look at this situation, it's so fascinating to me that, dude, Sony actually is kind of sneaky. So check this out. Let's go to Xbox, all right? I count a total of, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So a total of 23 studios. And then PlayStation has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. It's worth noting that I read 22 studios from Sony, but some of these studios are not actually making like games for Sony. Like, they're support studios. So keep that in mind. And I think there's maybe 1 or 2 support studios for Microsoft. But all right, let's start with Microsoft. 343 Industries wasn't present at the showcase for obvious reasons. They're, I guess, in complete restructuring mode after Halo Infinite. The Coalition, to some people's surprise, was not at the showcase. Based off of rumors we heard, the reason why the Coalition was not there, or at least speculation, there were rumors that they were working on like 1 or 2 new games and they got canceled or something, and they were tasked with going back to working on Gears of War. I don't know if that's true or not. Compulsion Games was there. So there's one studio. Double Fine Productions was not there. The Initiative was not there. And Exile was there. So that's 2 studios out of 23. There's Mojang, which we know, like, I mean, they're the Minecraft studio. So if they were there, there would just be Minecraft update. Ninja Theory was there, so that's 3. Obsidian was there, that's 4. Playground, 5. Rare, guys. Quick question, I forget. Rare was there, so with Sea of Thieves, so that's 6. Turn 10 was there with Forza, so that's 7. Undead Labs, no. World's Edge, who is this? Who's World's Edge? Oh, they do Age of Empires. I don't think they were there. Bethesda Softworks obviously was there with Starfield. Alpha Dog Games, what do they work on? They're a mobile developer. So Alpha Dog Games we're not going to count because they're a mobile developer. Arcane, obviously not there. id Software, not there. Machine Games, not there. Roadhouse, does Roadhouse Studios, don't they work on the live service stuff? I think Roadhouse works on the live service stuff. So I think they were there, right? With like the Elder Scrolls Online. Am I wrong about that? I'm actually looking for some clarification in the chat here. Brozy, you're asking the question, dude, that needs to be asked. Prime position for what? What is PlayStation in prime position for? You're saying those studios have several teams? Okay. All right, well, they weren't there. Tango Gameworks wasn't there. ZeniMax Online Studios, my bad. There we go. It says it right there. Developers of Elder Scrolls. So let's count it. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, so 9 total studios from Microsoft out of their 23 that were present at the showcase. Now let's break down how many of these games were new. So Compulsion, there's 1. In Exile, 2. Hellblade wasn't new. We already knew about that. Obsidian with Avowed, that wasn't new. Playground with Fable, not new. Rare, not new. Turn to do we? I don't know. Do we count for? No, I'm not going to count Forza as new. Let's see. Starfield was already revealed. So basically, it seems like they had essentially. Well, I don't know. So let's establish this first. My question to you guys is this, because I feel like this is, Brozy, you're saying it was a legitimate question. I know. I'm going to get to that answer. I got to build up to it, but I want to establish this with the chat first. So we need to ask. So like Fable, right? Fable, Avowed. These were games that were announced a while ago, like a long time ago, but we never saw anything of them. Do we count them as new games? Because I feel like it can go either way. If we're being like super technical about it, we can say no, they don't count as new games because they were already announced. However, realistically and more practically, I think a lot of people felt that the reason why this show is so good was because we finally got to get an idea of what these games actually look like. And in a way, it's basically brand new. You know what I mean? Like it's... So are we in agreement that we count those games as new? All right, so I guess here's what we're trying to establish. Do we count a game reveal that gets a CGI trailer as a new game? Because if we decide to say that Fable and Avowed are like new games that were shown at the showcase, then that technically means that when they were first revealed, they basically weren't new games. Like it was just like it's a tough thing. It's a weird thing. I guess I know we can't I can't definitively say. So here's what I'm going to say. My opinion on this is simple. If we get a CGI trailer for a game that is not in an established franchise, right? Is not a new IP, then we have no idea what it is, and I do not count that as a new game reveal. The reason for that is because when we get a CGI trailer for a brand new IP, you're like, there's like a 99% chance you're just going to have no idea what the actual, like, you don't know what the game is. Maybe I'm overcomplicating this. I'll just count them as new game reveals. Like, I'm going to simplify this because now I'm getting into semantics and it could go in so many different directions. Perfect Image, you're saying, MBG, it is okay to say Sony just pushed their subs about a year ago. No one has said anything about the games everyone can tap into from regular premium and more. Perfect Image, bro, man, I never know what you're saying. I'm sorry, Perfect Image. Dude, there are some super chats. I just don't know what you're saying, man. I'm sorry. We need a translator here. I need to chat. I need some help. What is Perfect Image trying to say? Perfect Image, you're saying subscription. That doesn't help. You're just saying a word. Subscription. I'm sorry, man. Like, I appreciate the super chats, bro. I just struggle to, and I don't know if, like, you know, I know if English isn't your native language. I get it, man. I just wish I could. Saying MBG, it is okay to say Sony just pushes their subs. There you go. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm sorry. We'll just say subscription. We'll leave it at that. Yes. Yes, Perfect Image. Subscription. All right. I don't know. I don't know where else to go with it. All right, look. So let's do this. So I'm looking over Xbox Studios. I'm going to count the games we saw from Xbox's show as new games, except for, so, all right. Compulsion Games, new game. In Exile, new game. That's 2 new games. Ninja Theory, I'm not going to count Hellblade 2 as a new game. That is simply not a new game. We've known about that since 2019, and we've seen it multiple times. Obsidian Entertainment, Avowed, I'm counting Avowed as a new game. I'm counting it as a new game because prior to the gameplay and trailer we saw yesterday, we literally had nothing to go off of except a freaking, like, 10-second CG trailer, which is useless. So that's a new game. Playground Games, Fable. I'm counting Fable as a new game. Even though it's an established series, they're rebooting it. And when we got that CG trailer in, like, 2019 or 2020, whatever the hell it was, it showed a freaking frog. It showed a frog, dude, or a toad or whatever. So I'm counting Playground Games. So that's going to be 3 new games. Let me see. And then we got, so that's about, I'd say 3 new games. Everything else, Starfield, I'm not going to say that's a new game. So yeah. So before I lose track here, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 total studios showing up, 9 first-party Xbox studios at the showcase, 3 brand new games. Okay? So that's I'm putting it there. I see somebody saying 5. Why would you say 5? You're saying Towerborn is first-party too? Who makes Towerborn? Who's making that? Because if that's true, then I'm missing something here. Then that would make it 10. Who's making Towerborn? And saying Towerborn looked kind of nice. All right, let me check. Towerborn. I thought somebody was going to answer me, but Towerborn. Who's the developer? Who is the developer? Why can I not find the developer? I'm like finding everything about the game except the developer. It's who made the Banner Saga? They're the developer. Stoic Studio. Okay, well, they're not an Xbox studio, so I don't think we can count them. All right, so again, leading up to why I'm saying PlayStation is in prime position. So Microsoft had a total of 9 first-party studios with 3 brand new games at their showcase. That's a lot. That's a lot of studios. When we count the amount of studios that didn't show up, we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 studios from Xbox that didn't show up. All right. 9 that did, 3 with new games. Now, let's go look at Sony's side. How many studios did Sony show up with at their show? Well, we've established they had I'm going to have to remove a couple of studios from Sony here. All right, when I count these. So like Fabric Games. Fabric is a support studio that works under Firesprite. That's counted technically as a PlayStation studio here, but we're not counting them because they're not, they're basically Firesprite. We have, let me see, Nixus Software. Again, I'm not counting Nixus because they only work on PC ports for games. They don't make their own games. So I'm removing them. San Mateo Studio. They are a support studio. Not counting them. They're not making their own games. Savage Game Studios. They're a mobile game developer. I'm not counting them. Valkyrie Entertainment. Another support studio. Not counting them. And then we have XDev. I'm not going to count them either. They're important. XDev, out of all the studios, I think is like probably the closest to being their own developer, but I'm not counting those studios because they're support studios or mobile studios. So when we remove those, we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 studios, basically, effectively. Out of those 16, 4 of those studios were present at the showcase. The only one that showed up with a single-player game was Insomniac. And that was a game that wasn't a new game. The 3 other studios, also Bungie. So technically 17 studios. I don't know why Bungie's not listed here. Bungie showed up with a new game with Marathon. No gameplay. Haven and Firewalk. So this is where, to me, things get very interesting. Sony shows up with 4. Microsoft shows up with 9. Huge difference there, right off the bat. But the reason why Sony looks so bad here, is because out of those 4 studios, 3 of them are brand new, and 2 of them we've never seen a game from. So Firewalk, we got Concord, CG trailer, have no fucking idea what this game's going to look like or play like. We just have no idea. Haven, they show up with Fair Games, have no idea what this game's going to be like. We have a kind of an idea. It's a heist game, competitive game. That's it. Bungie is a new studio under Sony, and they finally revealed their new game, Marathon. We have a pretty decent idea of what to expect there. And then we have Spider-Man. So ultimately, here's the crazy thing about Sony Showcase, that when you look at Xbox's show, it really puts things in perspective. You're saying it sounds like I'm coping. No, dude, as I said at the beginning of the stream, this isn't coping. This is reality. This is just the truth. There's no coping about it. Like, if I were to say to you, yes, PlayStation show was not good, does that sound like coping to you? No, that sounds like the truth. Now, if I also say to you, Sony literally didn't show jack shit, except for stuff that is either I don't want to say irrelevant, but in terms of actually showing games, kind of irrelevant, or B, they showed Spider-Man. outside of that, they didn't. This is why I'm saying Microsoft revealed their hand, dude. Now, you could say, but Microsoft still has like 12 studios that didn't show games. And that is true. That is true. 343 Industries, look, we know 343 Industries, whenever they're going to reveal something again, it's going to be Halo related. The Coalition, whenever they reveal something again, we know it's going to be Gears related. Double Fine, who knows what they could be working on. So Double Fine's a studio that, you know, Microsoft is holding on to for potentially a surprise announcement. Who else? So, like, I'm not counting Mojang in the same way that I'm not going to count Polyphony Digital for Sony. You know what I mean? Like, these are not, like, will people be excited for something Minecraft? Yes. Will people be excited for something GT related? Yes. But we know that. I'm talking new, like, prominent studios with new games. So, not counting Mojang, Undead Labs. That's another one they're holding on to that we haven't seen yet. World's Edge. I don't know. Like, Age of Empires 4, that game's coming out, right? Like, next year? Or this year? You're saying can't really count Bungie then? I mean, I kind of get what you're saying there. I do get what you're saying there. And, like, Marathon is going to be huge, but it's like, yeah, we know, like, it's Bungie. First person shooter experts. Like, we kind of, you know what I mean? So I get that. Like, that's why when I saw Marathon, I'm like, that looks pretty cool, but, you know, it's Bungie. And there's going to be a new first, you know what I mean? Like, it's a Destiny studio. I know what's going on here. It wasn't super fresh, I guess. I don't know. It didn't feel that way. So who else do they have here? So yeah, guys, I need confirmation. I need confirmation whether or not I can count. So I count 2 studios right now. Undead Labs. I skipped over. So we have Undead Labs, The Initiative. So that's 3. And if we count The Initiative, Undead Labs, as well as Double Fine. So that's 3 studios. Relevant studios, that is. Arcane Studios, so that's 4. id Software 5. Machine Games 6. Roadhouse 7. Tango Gameworks 8. So realistically, Microsoft has about 8 studios that we have not seen games from that could, you know, they are holding on to them that Sony may have to contend with this. Now, let's compare that to Sony. Sony has Ben Studio, Blue Point Games, Fire Sprite. I'm not going to count Guerrilla. In the same way that I'm not going to count 343 Industries or the Coalition, I'm not counting Guerrilla because we know Guerrilla, when we see them again, it's just going to be Horizon. You know, like they confirmed Horizon 3, so it's not a surprise. I am going to count Insomniac Games with Wolverine because we have not seen what Wolverine is going to look like, and that could be massive. So there's Insomniac with Wolverine, London Studio, Media Molecule. Although I don't know, should I count Media Molecule? I feel like I should count them because it's been a long time since they put out a new game. So we got Media Molecule. It's 5. Naughty Dog 6. I'm not going to count Polyphony Digital. I'm not going to count San Diego Studio because they just do MLB. Santa Monica 7. Sucker Punch 8. Team Asobi 9. So they're basically even. You're saying this guy over here being a whole detective. It's not about being a detective. It's actually just about laying it out clearly. Like, people said, and when I look at it from this viewpoint, what makes it so fascinating is people have said that, dude, the reason why Sony didn't show these games and they didn't feel pressured to is because Xbox gave them no reason to. And I thought at first, like, that sounded stupid. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, Xbox has all these studios, man. But then the reality was like, yeah, but did they actually show anything from these studios? And then I thought, I guess not. No. And so what just happened? Now they just showed that from their studios. So when I say PlayStation's in prime position, I guess what I mean is now that Xbox has showed their hand, they actually delivered games, they delivered game announcements. PlayStation is now in the best possible position where, okay, your competition just showed you what they're doing, man. And you can still just sit back if you want. You know, like Sony can just go through the rest of this year being like, we got Final Fantasy and Spider-Man 2 and Helldivers. We're good. We're fine. But it's like, okay. Whenever Sony does decide to actually put on a show, here's what we can at least know. Even if we might see Firewalk again, we might see Haven again, we might see Bungie again, but that's not all we're going to see. What is Bend working on? What is Bluepoint working on? What is Firesprite working on? What does Wolverine look like? What is Housemarque working on? What is London Studio working on? When are we going to see Naughty Dog's Factions? When are we going to see their new single player game? What is Santa Monica Studios' new IP? What's Sucker Punch working on? What is Team Asobi working on? You know, like, you just have to question, where are these games? Where are these game announcements? And none of this is counting any of the... It makes you... You know what? It makes me wonder. So, like, here's a good question. What if Sony isn't doing another show this year? I know there are people holding out hope. Like, I know there are PlayStation fans that are absolutely confident that Sony's doing a second show this year. What if they're not? What if Sony's not doing another show until like June of next year, man? Or May of next year? What then? Well, you know what's interesting is it just goes to reveal, like, what it reveals is that whenever Sony does decide that, hey, man, like, we got to actually do something now. You know, like, we actually, like, need to do something now. They have shit locked and loaded, man. They have studios that we haven't heard or seen anything of. And so does Microsoft. That's the key point here. So does Microsoft. So this is where, as Microsoft Studios continues to grow and they continue to just get more and more and more studios and they bloat, basically. There's just like the volume of studios that Microsoft has, the volume of game reveals that they could have year over year. I think it's going to actually put more pressure on Sony studios to where, okay, when your studios actually are ready to reveal, like, they have to make a big, big, big splash. And so let's go down that list, shall we? Let me read these super chats. Himanshu Yadav, you're saying MBG Star Wars Outlaws looks amazing, man. Yeah, people are telling me it looks incredible. I'll have to check that out. This seems like it could be like one of the surprise reveals, that like a game that's just way better than people were expecting. At least based off of the initial trailer. Laman, you're saying, you're laughing, saying, MBG, my girlfriend loved your Bethesda sucks joke, like fanboys trying to goad you. Also, realistic, which studio could Sony buy today? MBG, you're great. Well, I appreciate that, man. I mean, I'll tell you right now, the most realistic studio purchase for Sony at this exact moment in time, Arrowhead Studios. Yeah, that's a studio that they're partnered with for Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 looks pretty AAA to me. If that game gets good reviews and sells pretty well, I could absolutely see Sony folding them in as a... and I think it's a live service game, too. I don't think we got confirmation on that, but it might be. So, realistically, Arrowhead Studios. You're saying Square Enix... Square Enix, sorry, don't want to keep going with the E. Square Enix, I don't think Sony's going to acquire them, man. I think they're just going to keep growing that partnership to get it to a point where it's so strong where it's like, we don't need to acquire them. You know, they're loyal to us. I mean, at this point, it seems like Square is pretty loyal to Sony. I don't think anybody could deny that. Pushing polygons, you're saying, MBG, did you see any of the Ubisoft Forward Star Wars Outlaws looks promising for 2024? No, dude, I didn't see it yet, man. When I'm finished this stream, I'm going to go watch some of the trailers and some of the stuff that they revealed. So that's clearly going to have to be the first one I check. So I appreciate that, dude. All right, now let's go down the list here one last time. I've listed the studios. I've listed the studios that showed up at these showcases, the studios that, which games were like brand new reveals, which ones weren't. Now, let's do the most important thing and talk about the studios from both Sony and Microsoft that we haven't seen yet and what they're working on. Because when I say that Sony's in prime position, I think you're going to get a good idea of what I mean. Hopefully you do anyway. So let's start with Microsoft. 343 Industries. Again, Halo. My honest assessment of Halo right now, it's a shell of its former self. Whenever 343 is ready to come back with Halo, I don't think it's going to make a big splash. I think Halo has now been kind of rendered we'll get another Halo and maybe it'll be good, maybe not. And I think that's where it is now. Unfortunately. So I still think it'll have somewhat of an impact when we see. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm having a tough time reading 343 Industries because like I could actually see 343 their next reveal for Halo just basically, people just being like whatever. Is that too harsh? Like I get that feeling like that studio is done, man, and Halo is just in the trunk, in the closet, basically hanging up. You're saying it will because it's Halo? Yeah, that's the thing. Is like, is there still a diehard fan base there? I don't know. So I'll put Halo in the middle for now. Like I feel like Halo could go either way. I could see Halo getting just a complete like whatever, who cares? But I could also see it if it looks good. People be like, oh, is Halo finally going to come back? The Coalition. When we see them, we're going to see Gears 6. I think Gears 6 is, to me, it's definitely higher than Halo. I think Gears 6 will be considered a good game. I think people will be excited for it, but I think it is going to be viewed as kind of like, okay, it's Gears. It's what we expect from Microsoft. Double Fine. I don't know, man. Are they working on another Psychonauts game? You think Double Fine? Do you think they're working on another one? Let's assume that they are. I'll be honest, like this is where I haven't looked into it that deeply, but I'm gonna assume they're working on another Psychonauts game. Saying they're working on Banjo. Well, whatever their next game is, it's not like gonna be colossal in scope. It's gonna be something like more tame. So I could see like a Psychonauts 3, something like that. So there's that. The Initiative. Now, the Initiative is a fascinating studio because their game could be. I feel like when the Initiative reveals the Perfect Dark remake, it's going to go one way or the other. It's either going to be like a God of War type situation where it's like, holy shit, like they really brought this game. They really brought this game up, or it's going to be like, what a disaster. Like it's just not very good. I'm putting them in the middle because they're a brand new studio. They were announced in 2018. We have like seen nothing from them. So I don't know what's going on there. Perfect Image, you're saying read my last message. I'd tag you on. See if I can find it real quick. Saying gamers want the next game that is the best and big shot of the year. And you're saying there's games that no one taps into Sony Plus with PS Plus Premium. Every gamer wants to play the next game instead of just playing any good game on the PS5. It's just because it is compatible now. Okay. No, I think I get what you're saying. Perfect image. You're basically just saying that that's what makes subscription so successful. At least what should make subscription so successful for Microsoft is that you're getting the latest and greatest like immediately. So hopefully I'm understanding you there. But keeping with this, so we had the initiative. I'm putting Perfect Dark as like a kind of middle of the road. Maybe it could be a big reveal. It could be a flop reveal. Flop reveal. After that, we have Undead Labs. I have no choice but to put them in the middle too. I hope their game's a big reveal with State of Decay 3 when we finally see it, but it could be a smaller game. It could be more, kind of double A, and that's what the last two State of Decay games were. So there's that. Bethesda Softworks, we're not going to be getting anything from them after Starfield for a very, 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 very long time. So yeah. I guess that the next game. What is the next game supposed to be after Starfield, guys? Is it supposed to be Fallout or the Elder Scrolls 6? Yeah, the Elder Scrolls 6 was announced like 5 years ago or something like that. Oh God, yeah, dude. So the Elder Scrolls 6, we're not gonna. If that's their next game, dude, maybe that is why Microsoft needs Activision Blizzard, dude. Maybe because they know they're like, yo, look, Starfield's going to do lifting for us, but that dude, we can't sit around waiting for 10 years. We can't do this GTA shit. So, yeah, maybe that's why. So that's going to be a long time. That's going to be a lot. So I'm not counting them anytime soon. Nick Mullen, you're saying, I think the best thing Xbox did was put Starfield's release date before Spider-Man. Spider-Man is going to be great, but if it will look pretty insignificant next to Starfield. No disrespect to Insomniac, but their games have no depth. Well, I mean, it's tough for me to fully agree with you, man. I mean, I get what you're saying in terms of if I were to buy both Spider-Man 2 and Starfield, there's no doubt that if I were to play both games, yeah, I'm going to spend more time playing Starfield. Like, it's just the nature of that game, man. It is, like I said, it's so deeply layered, but then again, like, you have to think about the nature of a Spider-Man game. A Spider-Man game, any superhero game for that matter, could never be anywhere near have the same level of depth as an open world space exploration RPG. It just simply couldn't. It's impossible. There's no conceivable way because it just doesn't make sense for what type of game it is and what the character, what the actual genre is. So I get what you're saying. I do think it is good that both Starfield and Spider-Man are. I think there's a big enough gap there to where each will have its time in the sun. Like, I think Spider-Man coming out October 20th and Starfield coming out September 6th, Starfield will have, like a month and 3 weeks basically to itself. And I think that's more than enough time for people to buy the game, dive deep into it, and yeah, and then people are going to go buy their Xboxes, but I think they're far enough apart that I think Spider-Man's going to do just fine. I will tell you this is going to be fun to watch. Here's something that I will say. Spider-Man absolutely should set a new record for Sony. So God of War Ragnarok set a new record for PlayStation Studios in terms of sales. Spider-Man should easily do better than God of War Ragnarok. It should. It's Spider-Man. It is the highest selling single exclusive that PlayStation has. Now I understand that God of War is cross-gen, and you're saying the install base is less though. Yeah, but still, it in my opinion, it should still break a record. God of War is a big name and is very well known, but it's no Spider-Man. It's no Spider-Man. It's Spider-Man, dude. Like it should, if anything, Spider-Man should be what propels PS5 units. Like, it should sell a shit ton of PS5 units. If it doesn't, that would be interesting to me. Because that would ultimately mean God of War sold more, at least in the same time frame. So we'll see, man. Yeah, Spider-Man has that type of brand power that Sony's lucky to kind of have a game like that as an exclusive. So we talk about Wolverine, but Spider-Man's much bigger than Wolverine in just terms of brand power. So yeah, it's very mainstream. So I fully expect it to sell better. But yeah, it's interesting to think, Nick. I appreciate that $20 super chat, by the way, man. It's interesting to think about just these games coming, even though they're not super close together. They are close enough where it's like, let's see how it unfolds, man. Let's see how it unfolds. Big Turbo 2.0 on IG are saying, late to the stream, but how did Xbox have such a great show when they showed CGI, PC cap, and cinematics, barely any gameplay, and no release dates? Big Turbo, man, I wish I could answer that. Look, Big Turbo, I'll be honest with you, you got to come back and rewatch the stream. I'm 3 hours deep now. You got to come back and rewatch this stream. All right? You have to. I appreciate the super chat, though, man. I can't answer that because I talked all about it. All right, so let's keep going. So really quick, with Xbox, games that they have yet to reveal from their studios. 343 Halo, The Coalition Gears, Double Fine Productions, The Initiative, Perfect Dark Remake, Undead Labs, State of Decay 3, Arcane Studios. I don't know if Arcane just released Redfall. Are they working on anything else? id Software, so that's a big one. They could reveal another Doom. Machine Games. I think Machine Games is working on Indiana Jones. Roadhouse Studios, I don't know what they're going to reveal. And Tango Gameworks. I think Tango Gameworks is confirmed to be working on something else other than saying Arcane has 2 teams. Oh, yeah, they did Deathloop. So yeah, those are... So I want you to keep those studios in mind. I'm going to list them off one more time. And the reason why I'm going to list them off one more time is because I want you to keep them fresh in your mind. 343, The Coalition, The Initiative, Double Fine Productions, Undead Labs, Arcane Studios, id Software, Machine Games, Roundhouse Studios, and Tango Gameworks. Keep them in your head, okay? Because now we're looking at PlayStation Studios. Games that they might be working on. Ben Studio, new AAA IP. Bluepoint Games. We don't know if it's a new IP, but a new AAA game of some kind. Firesprite Games. They have a AAA horror game and I believe a AAA multiplayer game. Guerrilla. They have Horizon 3 and a Horizon multiplayer game. Housemark. New AAA IP. Insomniac. They have Wolverine. London Studio. New AAA multiplayer game. Naughty Dog. New AAA single-player game and Factions. Santa Monica Studio, new AAA IP that's in the works. Sucker Punch Productions, very likely a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. It could be a new IP, but job listings seem to hint at a new Ghost of Tsushima. Team Asobi, a new AAA game, likely will be a new Astro game. So the question I now have, and this is what it boils down to. This is what it boils down to. The question I now have, because if we're going to do a comparison like this, is when we look at the games that Microsoft revealed yesterday, and then we look at the studios that they have left with games that weren't revealed, when we compare that to Sony right now, how is it looking? Because my assessment of this is when I think about the games that Sony still has left to reveal that they haven't, and I compare that to the games that Microsoft has left to reveal, and I know maybe when I say this, it undoes everything. It undoes my own argument. Maybe when I say this, it's going to prove to a degree. Some people might read it as, so you're saying Microsoft does need Activision Blizzard. Keep in mind, no. When I say this, I'm not saying that they need Activision Blizzard. I'm just saying Microsoft is going to compete, but they're still not going to have enough to be number one. They'll be competitive, but I don't think they'll be number one. When I compare these studios and these games, the only games, it's not just one game, the only games that Microsoft has that I think will truly compete with Sony's, potentially, Starfield, Gears, Hellblade, maybe Fable, Machine Games with Indiana Jones. Actually, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, fuck, they don't need ABK. id Software with Doom. I can't say Arcane at this point after what happened with Redfall. I just can't do it. That just feels unfair. There's about like 7 games in total. I mean, I would count Forza, but I'm not counting GT. You're saying I'm so confused. So basically, what I'm trying to say here is that I'm trying to figure out right now. I'm actually in the process of figuring something out myself. I'm trying to really evaluate, like, my reaction to the Xbox showcase after what everybody is saying and what I just saw is that Xbox now 100% competes with Sony. But I do also kind of have it in the back of my mind, like, but dude, like, Sony has all these studios and they haven't revealed their games yet. So are we, like, how confident am I that when Sony reveals these games, like, look, when Ben's studio reveals their new IP, when Bluepoint Games reveals their new game, when Guerrilla reveals Horizon 3, when Insomniac fully reveals Wolverine, when Naughty Dog reveals their single-player AAA game, when Sucker Punch reveals Ghost of Tsushima 2, when Santa Monica Studio reveals their new AAA IP, the games that I just listed from Microsoft, how do we see them competing? That's a serious question. The next Wolfenstein game or an Indiana Jones game from Machine Games. Do we think that's going to have the same, is that going to be on the same level as like these games that I just listed from Sony, or at least the bigger AAA studios? You're saying they still need Activision, in my opinion? I don't know, though. You think about, like, dude, they're going to reveal another Doom game. Like, can we say that Doom competes with, I don't know, like Ben's new game or something? It's fascinating, man. All I know at this point in time is that Xbox had a good show, people are happy, and people are very confident. Sony had a bad show, and the reason why Sony had a bad show is because they didn't show shit. So right now, Sony is in prime position. And when I say right now, keep in mind, I don't mean like literally this month or next month, but in the coming months, like the first half of this year or the first half of next year, Sony can now decide when they want to show these things, man, like how they want to show them. And I'm excited for that. Like that is the thing that I've noticed so many people are forgetting. I understand that people are so focused and fixated right now on, well, Sony had a bad showcase and Xbox just fucking beat the shit out of them with their showcase. At least that's how a lot of people are talking. You're saying Fable greater than Wolverine? Ooh, I don't know about that one, man. I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one. That's all I could say. And that's not even a shot at Fable. I just really don't know about that one. It's just interesting to me that so many people are so quick to basically come to the conclusion that, yeah, dude, Sony is they fucked up, man. Like they're screwed. But in reality, it's like, but when I list to you these studios, don't get me wrong, like this isn't me justifying their showcase. I'm just trying to point out there that, like, but what happens when they do reveal these games? What happens when they do show up? What happens when they do decide, like, oh, okay, Microsoft, you showed your games, you made a statement. Now it's our time. It's our turn to go again. You're saying, yeah, but this is live service, Sony. They're unpredictable. They're not as well, maybe. They're not as unpredictable as you think. Like, the one thing you can still at least count on from Sony is they're gonna at least deliver one big AAA single player game a year. That may sound not great to some people, like just one, but it's like, I mean, like, you look at like Spider-Man, like that level of, it's a huge game, you know what I mean? Or at least it's gonna be a pretty big game. Yeah, that would be disappointing, dude. That would be quite the it's like Sony comes out again and they're like, what's that? You didn't like our last showcase because we showed too many live service? Well, buckle up, because we're showing even more. Yeah, that would suck. Well, they will show more. They will show more. There's no doubt about that. But it's all right. So I'm gonna scope down here a little bit, because I'm like reading off all of Xbox's studios. I'm reading off all of PlayStation's. People are saying they're confused. It is confusing. It's a lot of shit to keep track of. It's a lot. So let's scope down here. Let's look at the next. How about the next 18 months? How about that? All right. So the next 18 months for PlayStation, based off of what I could tell, is looking like this. We're looking at Helldivers 2, Final Fantasy 16, Spider-Man 2. And then going into 2024, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. Wolverine is apparently slated to release in 2024. Concord, which is Sony's new first-person shooter. Rise of the Ronin. Stellar Blade. And I think that's about it. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Like, there's like, we could throw like Silent Hill 2 remake in there, but we don't have confirmation. You're saying MBG is definitely confused. I'm not necessarily confused. I'm just trying to make sure I'm trying my best to keep it like within a reasonable, because I don't have like shit listed in front of me and whatnot, and I don't have like a picture up on screen. That'd probably visually it'd be a lot easier to keep track of. Oh yeah, did Fair Game? Are you sure Fair Games had a 2024? Guys, can we get some confirmation on that? Actually, I can check here. Haven Studios. There's no year attached to yeah, so I wasn't wrong about that. There's no year attached to Fair Games. All right, so the next 18 months, Spider-Man 2, Helldivers 2, Final Fantasy 16, Fantasy 7 Rebirth, Concord, Wolverine, Stellar Blade, Rise of the Ronin. So that's 8 games potentially over the next 18 months, assuming nothing else gets announced. Now, if we look at Xbox, they got Age of Empires 4, Starfield, Forza 8, 2024. I think right now for Xbox, we have confirmation of Hellblade 2, Avowed. Surely there has to be more than that. I have 5 games listed. Oh yeah, MLB The Show, true. That would be another one for PlayStation, but I don't know. It's a yearly sports game. What What else? What else? Surely Microsoft has to have more than that for 2024. Right? Stalker 2. Okay, Stalker 2. So that's 6. Yeah, any like second or third party games. I know Stalker 2 is a second party game. So that's 6 games. Come on, there has to be more, right? Towerborn. Okay, that's 7. That's 7. You're saying Synapse is exclusive to PSVR 2. Okay, I guess that would technically be 9 then for Sony. So dude, it's very interesting, man. I would say Death Stranding 2, but I don't know that it's been confirmed that it's striving for 2024 release. I'm trying to stick with games that actually have dates associated with them, because there are a lot of games on both Sony and Microsoft side that don't have dates. And when you look at this, man, you know what my question? Okay, here's my question. Here's the kicker. I knew there was a kicker here, because like as I'm going through all of this, I'm like, there is something here that is worth. There's a big takeaway from this. Here's the big takeaway that I'm thinking. I'm thinking that this year, so we have Spider-Man 2 on Sony's side, and then Starfield. And I think everybody's basically looking at Starfield as like, yeah, Starfield is the game. Like, this is the big Xbox game and we haven't seen a game this big from Xbox pretty much ever, right? What about 2024 though? Because it's interesting to me that Sony does have a game, like a big AAA game. It might get delayed, of course, but right now they told their investors they have 2. I mean, we could count Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm trying to just stick to first party, okay? Because I know people are going to be like, but what about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? I know that. The game is Wolverine. So actually, Sony has 2 AAA games next year. They have Concord, and look, I get it. If you're like, dude, Concord, what are you talking about? Look, man, don't shoot the messenger. I don't know what Concord's going to be. All I know is that Concord is targeting, it is a AAA first-person shooter that is targeting 2024. That's what Sony said. Okay? So we have that from Sony, and we have Wolverine. Those are apparently the 2 big AAA titles that Sony plans to release in 2024. When we look at Microsoft's side of things in terms of AAA Xbox releases, we're looking at Avowed and Hellblade 2. So what are we thinking? Are we thinking, so what does Microsoft have that could potentially stack up against Wolverine? Could Hellblade 2 and Avowed together take on Wolverine? Fable? Yeah, but Fable doesn't have a year attached to it. You guys are saying Fable. Am I wrong about that? Did Fable get a 2024 date? I'm pretty sure it didn't. Oh, yeah, and they have Flight Simulator 2024 for Microsoft. Totally forgot about that. I mean, I know. We're not going to, no. What do you guys, so now you're telling me Flight Simulator 2024 is going to compete with Wolverine? What is going on here? I know we're just trying to like keep track of all these things. The reason why I'm actually trying to map this shit out right now is because I'm trying to figure out like why Sony, like I'm trying to figure out what makes the most sense from Sony's point of view. Like if Sony basically is like, we don't need to reveal these games. Like we literally don't have to. Like we would rather reveal Ghost of Tsushima 2 sometime next year, so that, so we can have it basically lined up for 2025. And we might need to reveal it next year. Like it might be more effective to reveal it next year. I don't know. This is just kind of like what I'm thinking about, because something about this shit is just so weird to me. Something is off. Like PlayStation really is in a position right now where they are sitting on like a mountain of studios and games. And they did their showcase, man. And like, again, I know people are like, just accept it. Sony didn't have anything to show. They weren't ready. It's like, okay, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. But still, it doesn't, you got to admit, like, it's just bizarre. I don't believe for a second that none of these studios were ready to show something. I don't believe that. That to me, that just doesn't sound possible. How is that even possible? Like you're talking about like 8 to 9 studios and not a single one is ready to show anything? Maybe. It's possible. I don't know. I'm saying it's not possible, but then I'm saying it's possible. I guess I'm just trying to say that something is weird about this whole situation. You know? You're saying development takes time. That's true. Yeah, that could be the factor in all of this, man. But I don't know. Sony just seems to have an extreme hesitation these days anymore with showing games that are not within a 12-month time frame or an 18-month time frame, I should say. If a game goes beyond an 18-month release, but then again, look at Fair Games, dude. Fair Games didn't have a year attached to it. So that could be a 2025 game, and they showed it. What about Marathon? Is Marathon a 2025 game? So I can't even work within these parameters of like, well, Sony doesn't show anything beyond 18 months. There's no pattern here. There's no answer. There's no answer, basically. And so, as far as I can tell, look, man, I'm going to say it. And I know people are going to get all worked up because they're like, oh, here we go. Keep in mind, I'm not saying that you should bank on it. I'm not saying it's a guarantee. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just going to say that PlayStation is in a fucking prime position right now, like for at some point later this year to do another showcase and basically fucking be like, yeah, we just had to kind of come out and actually do what we were supposed to do the first time. And now it's a lot easier to do that because we know what we're facing against the competition. Now, again, I know that sounds silly because it's like, well, then why would Sony do a showcase in the first place in May? I don't know, man. Like, look at what they showed off. They showed off Spider-Man because people were losing their fucking shit saying, where's Spider-Man? They showed live service games that they promised their investors the day before that they were going to show them. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I know how it sounds. I know how it sounds like you can't deal that they didn't have a good showcase. It's not that I can deal with it. I have accepted it. It's just, I'm just fucking perplexed, man. Like, just as I'm perplexed that Microsoft still says they need ABK, I'm perplexed that Sony, like, why have we not seen anything? It just kind of got me. I won't lie to you guys, and here's the truth. And here I know there's like Xbox dudes who tuned in to my stream today, and they're like, God fucking damn it, MBG's doing it again. But I'll say this, and this is absolutely true, man. This is absolutely true. The way I see Xbox fans celebrating the showcase they just got from Microsoft, that's what I wish PlayStation fans got too. You know what I mean? Like, I wish we could have walked away from the PlayStation showcase the same way, but we didn't. And it would have just been cool if that's how it played out. You know, they both succeeded, but instead they didn't. And as a PlayStation guy, it's not that because like, I know how people are like, oh, you're scared of Xbox. And look, I have my problems still with Microsoft pursuing Activision Blizzard. I fucking went on super rant mode earlier today, but putting Activision Blizzard aside, I think Microsoft is doing just fine. Like, honestly, if the Activision Blizzard thing didn't exist right now, I'd say, dude, Xbox is in prime position. Absolutely. Like, they have a lot of they have more good shit going for them now than they ever have. I just hate this game that Microsoft is trying to play underneath it all, that I feel like people are kind of either downplaying or ignoring, and I can't do anything about it. But right now, just based off of Bethesda and Xbox alone and Game Pass, they're fucking doing it, man. They're bringing the competition. And the thing about it is, like, I see so many people coming out and basically talking in a way where it's like, man, what Sony sucks now, bro. It's like, dude, First off, no, they don't. Like we need to clear that up right now. Okay? We need to clear that up right now. This whole notion that's being put forth that now suddenly Sony isn't producing good enough games and Sony's back is against the wall and Sony is going to fucking struggle and Sony doesn't have any games, blah, blah, blah. Like, I actually see people trying to like aggressively push this shit out there. It's nonsense. It's just totally nonsense. I think everybody knows that. I hope everybody knows that. It is just truly disheartening to see the way things have unfolded, where we could say a lot of things about that PlayStation showcase. One thing we can't say is that, in my opinion, is that Spider-Man 2, that looks like a good fucking game. You know? It looks like a good game. And it was just truly bizarre to me. And I've talked about it, and I don't mean to keep bringing it up here. You know, probably because I'm talking for nearly 3.5 hours straight. Practically delusional at this point. Or, what's the word I'm looking? Not delusional. Delirious. That's the word I'm looking for. You're saying nobody's saying that, MBG, except fanboys. You're right about that, but they are the fucking loudest, man. Like, their voice has a reach, and I hate to be the one to have to say that, but it's true, man. I know people think that, like, if you ignore it, it doesn't exist. Like, it does, and it has an impact. Now, how material is that impact? I can't say, but it does have an impact, and that's why it's just like, look, man, I don't expect Sony after this Xbox showcase to come out and be like, yeah, well, you know, we released God of War and Horizon, and we had a great 2022 and a great 2021 and a great launch lineup. You know what I mean? Like, that, how fucking petty would that be? That would be so weird. Like, imagine Sony actually coming out and being like, well, we did this and that. Like, it would just look so bizarre. But that's the problem, is like, they did do that, you know? And not only that, like, they have games literally coming out as soon as, you know, a week and a half from now. So I guess it's just like, I was hopeful, man. Like, I would, and maybe I'm foolish for this. I probably am. I'm naive and foolish for this. I was hopeful that when Xbox had their showcase, that, you know, people would clearly have a reasonable expectation, which is just show your stuff, Microsoft, like you have to. And when they did that, I was hopeful that people would just kind of be like, yeah, there we go. Microsoft did it. Let's get hype. But it's never that simple. And maybe this is just, I don't know, maybe this is just a good old what comes around goes around, you know? It's just weird, bro. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. It's just, I'm like, I'm looking at the things that people are saying, and I'm looking at the hype, and it's like, you know, it's deserved and it's earned at this point. But then I see the extra shit on top of it, and I'm like, but where's, like, what is going on with that? MBG is clear that the PlayStation showcase sucked, plain and simple. MBG, if the Xbox showcase was so good, why didn't you buy an Xbox or sub to Game Pass? Well, you know, man, it's just because while I can be objective and acknowledge that they had a good showcase on a personal level, like, dude, their games still aren't doing it for me. If Hellblade 2 was coming out at the end of this year, I'd either get an Xbox or subscribe to Game Pass to play that. But that's just it, man. Like, it's just they didn't, the games that they showed, like, I can see the hype that people have for it. Like, I'm not trying to be an asshole or a fanboy when I say this, and I know that no matter what, people are going to take it this way, but I was like looking at screenshots that people were posting of these games, and I'm just like, it's not doing it for me. It's just not. It's just not doing it for me. They don't look bad either. It's just, it's not doing it for me. You know? Like, I see people getting hyped about Avowed, and it's like, I can identify, like, yeah, I could see why people would be excited for this game, but I'm not. Like, I didn't feel anything for that game. I don't think it looks bad. Just, it's not for me. Like, if that was a Sony game, I'd have a real struggle trying to get on board with it because I'd just be like, I don't know, man. Like, this just doesn't look like it's for me. And frankly, I'll be honest, if I saw a game like Avowed from a PlayStation studio, I'd be like, well, that's fucking surprising. Like I genuinely would be like, wow, I didn't think they made games like that. And that's kind of like, that's pretty new for PlayStation. That's unexpected. Same thing with Fable, dude. Like I'm trying, like I'm trying to put myself in a position like, what if Sony announced these games? Like the only game that I saw from the Xbox showcase, and this is actually pretty fascinating to think, that looked like it could be a Sony game was Hellblade. You're saying it's called Variety? No, I know that. But I think Sony is about to have much more variety than they normally do, and what I'm describing is exactly what we might end up seeing from Sony, dude. Like why do you think so many people were like Fair Games, Concord, like that shit, even though they were CG trailers, did not look like the normal stuff you see announced from Sony. You're saying, dude, you literally said you liked Avowed during the live stream. Yeah, dude, I'm saying as I'm watching the trailer, like it looks good. It looks good. Like Avowed doesn't look bad, but that doesn't mean I want to play it. Just because I can acknowledge a game looks good doesn't mean that, and that's a game I want to play. You know what I mean? I felt that way about Final Fantasy for the longest time, bro. Keep in mind, if you go back to 2020 when Final Fantasy 16 was announced as a PS5 exclusive, I said the same thing. I'm like, that looks good. I don't have any interest in playing it. I'm not a fan of Final Fantasy. But eventually I played Final Fantasy 7 Remake and the rest is history. But that's just the way it is for me, man. Like I see games all the time that I think look good, but I just know like it's not in my wheelhouse, man. It's not. I don't see myself playing that game. I'll be honest with you. I think a part of me is trying to be nicer to Avowed than I really feel, because the one thing I got from Avowed is I was like, dude, this looks like the Elder Scrolls. And I do not like the Elder Scrolls. I couldn't stand the Elder Scrolls when I played it. And I know that to some people that's like blasphemous, but that's just the truth, man. Like I did not like my experience with that game. And when I saw Avowed, I'm like, this looks like a more colorful, like fantastical version of the Elder Scrolls. MBG trying to be nicer to Xbox players, period. You know what's, dude, what I remember of the Elder Scrolls is I remember at that time, it was like, dude, you're either going to spend time playing the Elder Scrolls or you're going to spend time playing Dark Souls. Which one are you choosing? And for me, I don't know why, like Dark Souls just resonated with me a lot more than the Elder Scrolls did. You're saying that the combat was bland. I think that's what killed it for me, man. I think I honestly think at the end of the day, that's probably what did it. Because when I think about like why I chose Dark Souls, like Dark Souls made me want to put my head through a wall because it was so fucking difficult. But the combat was so immensely satisfying. And I remember when I went to go play the Elder Scrolls shortly after, and I'm like, just like swinging shit around. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, what is going on here, man? Like, why does this feel this way? Saying play Sekiro. I know, I have to. Josh, I'm sorry to keep you waiting, man. You're saying, don't buy into the narrative the internet/fanboys are trying to sell you. Starfield scale doesn't excuse 30 FPS. We don't make excuses for PlayStation, so why Xbox? That's the thing, man, is it's like there is no excuse. And I hate that people are trying to put out an excuse out there. Like, there is no excuse. Like, look, they want me to admit PlayStation Showcase wasn't good because it lacked first party. You're right. There's no excuse. Absolutely. But then when we get the announcement that Starfield's 30 FPS, it's like, well, I got 10 excuses listed right here why it's totally fine. It's like, bro, like this is why the fans on opposing sides can never just come together and shake hands in agreement. All right? How about we do this? Let's shake hands in agreement right now. Yo, PlayStation Showcase wasn't good, and it's a massive fucking L that Starfield is only 30 FPS. Can we shake on that? Can we shake on that? Are we all in agreement there? And Josh, you're saying hopefully the leak was wrong and it's not broken too. Oh my God. Could you imagine that? Could you just imagine if Starfield actually flops? Holy shit. Like, it makes you. I'm just gonna say this. This a major theme of this stream so far has been, boss, dude, you got to get down, man. A major theme of this stream so far has been, why does Microsoft desperately feel they desperately need Activision Blizzard when they just had a showcase like that and they now have Starfield? And I'm just thinking, like, maybe it's because deep down Microsoft, I'm not saying they're afraid this is going to happen, but they have to consider all possibilities. What if Microsoft is thinking, like, Bethesda might not, I don't think it'll flop. To be clear, Starfield's not going to flop. Starfield is going to do well no matter what. But in terms of, like, scale, talking about Starfield and expectation, you do have to wonder if, like, Microsoft is basically just trying to prepare themselves for a worst case scenario. And a worst case scenario is, so Starfield did very well, but not as well as we had hoped, not as well as we expected. And if that happens, that's their biggest game. Like, Starfield is by far and away the biggest game that that Xbox has coming out anytime soon. So you're saying, I like your content, but dog, come on. Keep in mind, dude, listen, I'm running through a scenario. This is speculation. I hate when people take my speculation as, did you hear that? MBG just said Starfield's going to flop. No, I'm not saying that. Like, please understand, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, if you're Microsoft and your business and your ultimate goal is to make money and not lose money, and you spent $7.5 billion on Bethesda, and the main reason you did that is in the immediate future for Starfield, you have to have a contingency plan where it's like, okay, what if this goes south? Like, what if it just doesn't go the way we had hoped? What if it doesn't meet our expectations financially? That's all I'm saying. That could be potentially a reason why they are still so aggressively pursuing Activision Blizzard, because it's like, well, if we can guarantee Activision Blizzard, then no matter what Starfield does, we're good. We're golden. You know what I mean? Like, that's our safety net. Potential. I don't know. But you assume a lot to arrive to that scenario. Yeah, I guess you're right. Truthfully speaking, I think Starfield's going to be just, I think it's going to be better than fine. I think Starfield, like I said, man, my expectation for Starfield in terms of how it's going to perform for Microsoft, it's going to sell a shit ton of Xbox consoles. It's going to gain a shit ton of subscribers for Game Pass. And somebody said earlier that it's going to go on to sell, like, how many did they say, 25 million or something? Did they say 25 million, 30 million total, like, in the long run? I could see that happening. I could absolutely see that happening. JC 2013, you're saying, you can quote me, MBG. Sony is not done. Just wait 3 to 6 months. We'll see, man. Like, so yeah, that's I guess where I will end this stream, man. I will end this stream by simply saying, PlayStation is in prime position. What are they in prime position for? They're in prime position to now put on an actual good show. That's what they're in prime position to do right now. Whether or not they're going to do that, I don't know. Nobody knows. Only Sony knows. We did hear from, again, Colin Moriarty. I don't know how reliable he is as an industry insider, but he said his sources told him, like, yeah, they're doing another showcase. Like, they are doing another showcase. I don't know. I'm not going to put my stock in that. I'm just going to say it would make sense. I get it. That would explain why this showcase was so fucking bizarre. And it would be cool, man. You know what? I will add this final point. Okay? Here's the final point for this conversation. One thing that would be so cool about Sony doing a second showcase this year, assuming that if they actually do a second showcase, it would be better than the first. Like, come on, guys. I know when Sony does another showcase at some point in the future, I know we're all going to keep our expectations lower, but obviously everybody is going to look at that and say, this one's going to be better than the last one, right, Sony? Like that. Absolutely, people are going in with that expectation. no matter what, because Sony earned that. Like that's what happens when you put on a bad show. People expect a redemption arc. The cool thing about Sony possibly doing another showcase this year is that if they do, it kind of proves that they are responding to the competition. And that would be very reassuring from my perspective, because that is true. We've wanted to see Microsoft actually get up and compete, and they have seemingly finally done that. And the reason why PlayStation fans have encouraged that is because it's going to make Sony do more than they're doing. It's going to put a little sense of urgency, a little pep in their step. And if they do a second showcase, well, there you go. There you go. So we'll see, man. Yeah, this stream was pretty crazy though. I had fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Got pretty crazy up in here with some ranting, especially in the beginning, dude. I think I don't know. I was all jacked up from my coffee, caffeine flowing through me, going on some rants. But I hope you enjoyed it. I do think I made some valid points. I'm sure there will be people who decimate me for some of the points I tried to make, but to those people, all I could say is fuck you. So MBG, chill, bro. Dude, listen, I get it. You tell me to chill. I have chill streams. Guys, you know I have chill streams. I'm not always like this. Somebody please get my back here. I swear, there are some people that come to my streams, they literally think I'm like hopped up on shit every stream. No, dude. I have chill streams. But there are these streams where I gotta, I gotta rage a little bit. I gotta rant. And you're saying perfect response. It's the only response, bro. It's the only response. But before I head out, guys, two things I want to let you know. First, I have a video going out literally in 20 minutes. Okay, it's scheduled to go out, so please go check that out. I would appreciate the support. Again, I'm trying real hard to get back on the video creation pattern and making that, integrating that more into the content flow, because I know there are a lot of people who feel like I'm neglecting the video content in favor of the streams, and I'm trying my best to make sure I can get both out there as effectively as I can. So for those who enjoy the streams, thank you for showing up. Thank you for your support. It really means everything to me. And for those of you who enjoy, for those who enjoy the videos, please go out there and support them. Show them some support. Show them some love. And I appreciate that as well. And then before I go, the second thing I want to say is thank you, as always, guys. We hit it says we hit 32 members. We hit 30 members even today. I think it says we have 32 because of the, again, I wish my software wouldn't do that, but it tracks the milestone chats as like memberships. That's not what they are, obviously. So we hit 30 members today. We achieved our goal of 25, or we went past that goal. So thank you guys so much for everybody who gifts memberships, for everybody who becomes members. Really appreciate that. And also a huge shout out to everybody who continues to super chat. Not only, again, do you guys keep the conversation relevant and interesting and flowing and all those things, but you are supporting me directly. So I very much appreciate that. Saying, MBG, did you mention the Sony and Square Enix partnership? I talk about that in my video. So yeah, look forward to that. And Stephen Jones, you're saying, great stream today. Seriously. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Stephen. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it too. And I appreciate all the support. The thing that motivates me to keep doing these streams, to want to keep producing this content and keep hanging out with you guys, having these engaging conversations, it is truly your support. So the very last thing I'm going to ask you guys to do very quickly as you head out, hit that like button for me. I want to see if we can crush 400 likes. We're right there. We're like 21 likes away from hitting 400. So please hit that like button. And yeah, shout out to Devil Shooter. He couldn't do timestamps for the streams for a little while because his internet was out. I think he got that all sorted out. So he should be able to do timestamps more regularly for the streams. So shout out to you, Devil Shooter, and a big thank you for doing that as well. But that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the stream, and I will catch you maybe tomorrow with another stream. So until then, take care.